A Dream of Fair Women by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Foon. One night, while on my couch I was reclining, while just dozing, lightly dozing on my bed, I was treated to a vision so refining, that at first I feared the sight would turn my head. For my eyes there passed along in slow succession all the fair ones who were famed in days of yore, those enchantresses and charmers whose chief mission was to make proud haughty men the sex adore. Goddess Flora led the van bedecked with flowers, which she strewed on every side along her way, while her smiles and rosy blushes fell like showers, and refreshed my heated brain like scented spray. Arm in arm and tripping nimbly o'er the rosebuds, came fair Dian and Euterpe on apace, while Hygeia followed close upon their footsteps, as they started off for pleasure in the chase. Quite enamored of their healthful grace and vigor, my senses for the moment seemed benumbed, till upon the scene appeared another figure, when my heart untouched as yet at last succumbed. It was Venus, goddess fair of love and beauty, who, so perfect, bosom, sonsy, coy, and sweet, had at length my heart in earnest taken captive, and reduced me to a suppliant at her feet. But alas, the siren goddess left me mourning, the procession of enchantment still went on, and my wounded heart at first within me burning, cooled at length until it joyed that she was gone. For with sober, stately tread came great Minerva, the patroness of science and of art, and the smile of recognition that she gave me healed completely my lacerated heart. Well attended soon came Juno, queen of heaven, the fair guardian of married women's bliss. Being single, I the shoulder cold was given, which at first I felt inclined to take amiss. But Erato, who delights to honor lovers, and who sympathizes with them in their wrongs, happened by most opportunely, I imagined, and sang back my peace of mind with tender songs. Then methought that fairest Helen, Troy's perdition, followed hard love's pretty muse upon the scene. And at once I understood the fierce condition in which Paris, Priam's son, must once have been. And when Dido made her debut in the vision, I could swear that by the great eternal plan, not a mortal ever lived except in fiction, who could spurn such loveliness and yet be man. Next came Beatrice, whom Dante loved so dearly, with Laura, Petrarch's Laura, by her side, till quite stricken by their sweetness I sincerely bemoaned with all Italia that they died. Then Shakespeare's lovely fair ones next paraded, and I recognized distinctly as they passed, soft Ophelia, sweet Portia, good Cordelia, loving Juliet, not the least, if mentioned last. After this my dozing memory seemed to wander, though the ladies loitered still upon the scene, but among the last I noticed I remember was the shapely form of Burns's bonny Jean. When, however, my Zetulba stood before me, all my frame in liquid bliss she seemed to steep, and the vision of fair women flitted from me, as in ecstasy I sighed myself to sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Love by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Foon. My love is like a lily fair, my love is like a rose. Her breath with fragrance fills the air, her manner is repose. My love is very beautiful, my love is pure and sweet. My love is very dutiful, lacks naught to be complete. Her cheeks like morning glories, the glow of youth impart. Her dimpled chin and rosy lips would break Apollo's heart. Her smile, like sunlit heaven, is radiant and divine, and speaks of untold happiness for all who make it shine. Her eyes the battlements of love, her weapons of defense, guards well that priceless jewel, a maiden's innocence. Her brow so fair and noble adorns her queen-like face, proclaims her high above the crowd, and wisest of her race. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
And So She's Wed by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. And so she's wed. She who inspired the purest love that ever fired a poet's breast. Yes, she is wed, and he is free. He who once fed with greedy eyes upon her smile, and thought her flower from heaven's soil. Yes, he is free. How vain are words! In chains, more with his state accords. But that is not the term men use When passion can no more enthuse. They say they're free when hope is fled. So he is free, and she is wed. And since he's free, and she is wed, 'tis meet his blessing should be said. But woe! His breast is burning hell. Upon her bliss he cannot dwell. It is a shame, since he is free, Yet 'tis too true, for I am he. Yes, I am he, and she who's wed Was once in ages that are fled My hope, the star that led me on In those sweet ages that are gone. I dreamed, while perfume bathed my head, I'd be the lover that she'd wed. But I can pray, God grant my prayer, That he, who may her sorrows share, And by his kindness and his truth Make age for her a second youth, Will love her with the love here read, Were I not free, and she not wed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. That is all by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Only a package of letters, entwined by a broken lace. Only a bundle of fetters that bind to a pretty face. Only some tokens of friendship that had warmed with increase into love. Only a bliss burdened message, and the web that was weaving is wove. Only a tenderest parting, with promises ne'er to be filled. Only a teardrop starting, but ere it has fallen, chilled. Only a misunderstanding, a blundering, cruel mistake. And yet from pride still unbending, two hearts are ready to break. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. But She is My Cousin by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Refreshing and pure as the glistening dewdrop That rests on the lily's pale bosom at dawn, Yet coy as Aurora when over the hilltop She peeps, is the face of my fair Colleen Bawn. Her eye is the brightest, all nature confesses, And witching her glance, as the light of the moon. Like the floss of the maize are her soft silken tresses, Her smile an Apollo would crave as a boon. As bowsome her form as the breeze bending willow, More graceful her movements than those of a deer, Light hearted and free as the foam tossing billow, This sweet little maiden has nowhere a peer. In truth, of her sex she is worth quite a dozen, A fact that one running need scarce stop to see, And had not fate cruelly made her my cousin, A nearer relation she some day might be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Old Story by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I know a lovely dark-eyed girl, with rosy cheeks and raven curl, with juicy lips and teeth of pearl, and dimpled chin distracting, whose smile sets airy brain a-whirl, that comes in reach attracting. But yet for all her pretty face, her lissome form and girlish grace, they are not worth describing space beside her charming manner, while virtues in her heart have place that fly perfection's banner. And this fair angel from on high is mine, I know not how or why. She yielded to each yearning sigh I made with vow unswerving. And now, most blessed of mortals, I feel least of all deserving. But God be praised that ere I met this lovely laughing eyed brunette, I died to earn her pleasure yet, and free her from all sorrow. For her my sun shall rise and set on every coming morrow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Lover's Farewell by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Fare thee well, but not forever, though I cross the surging main. Love like ours no sea can sever, we but part to meet again. Fare thee well, and may our parting like a beacon ever burn, telling not of news disheartening, but of hopeful, sweet return. Fare thee well, and when with sorrow time hangs heavy o'er your head, think of me and that bright morrow when we'll share life's shine and shade. Fare thee well, let no foreboding steep your loving heart in gloom. With thy trust, my footsteps goading, I can conquer any doom. Fare thee well, but not forever, though I cross the surging main. Love like ours no sea can sever, we but part to meet again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Two Darling Loves by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I have two loves, two darling loves, my country and my muse. Though other loves prove faithless loves, these always can enthuse. Unlike most loves, these charmers sweet consent my love to share, and I with both their charms replete, more love to each can spare. I've loved my country many a year, which I could not but choose, and that I might it more endear, I vowed to woo my muse. I wooed my muse, I'm glad to tell, and truly now confess, did I not love my muse so well, I'd love my country less. I love my muse with all my heart, for with her gentle skill, I'm abler in my country's part, to sing her praises still. I love my country and in dreams recall its beauties o'er, for these give rise to many themes wherewith my muse I soar. I have two loves, two darling loves, my country and my muse. Though other loves prove faithless loves, these always will enthuse. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Happy at Last by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Zetulba loves me. Doubt has flown. At last I know she is my own. For ere her eager lips can move to testify her changeless love, a glistening eye, a glowing cheek, still quicker, clearer, louder speak. Zetulba loves me, who will deign to say my life's now lived in vain, since one so dainty, trim, and neat, so pure of heart, so wise, so sweet, in no uncertain, wavering voice, confesses me her only choice. Zetulba loves me, bliss divine, was ever joy to equal mine, the conqueror's crown, the hero's prize, may sorrow ambition to the skies, but what can give the perfect rest I find upon Zetulba's breast? Zetulba loves me, God I pray, preserve her guileless on life's way. Make no dark tempest ever lower to disenchant her waking hour, and when she sleeps, may angels sing and lull with dreams of endless spring. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Jilted Maid's Lament by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Thou pale-faced moon, whose mournful light Steals rayless from the cloudless sky, list to a maiden's woeful plight, for thou alone must hear my sigh. I was not always thus forlorn. My days were once but rounds of joy. Life's scented rose showed no dread thorn, nor did its gems hold base alloy. My happy heart was light and free, and like the birds in yonder glen, I sang with merry honest glee, nor dreamt of care, or grief, or pain. But soon across my pleasant path a lover came with earnest eye, to pledge to me undying troth, and steal my peace with lover's sigh. For months upon his smile I dreamed, like living act his vow appeared, his lightest word truth's model seemed, his frown inmost conscience seared. But woe, alas, my doting heart Was shattered by its only pride, for tiring of love's fancy dart, My idol flitted from my side. Afar he roamed, nor turned again To seek the wreck he left behind, While I must hide the killing pain, Nor show my grief to humankind. So pale-faced moon, whose mournful light Steals rayless from the solemn sky, Keep thou the secret of my plight, While void of hope I droop and die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Zetulba by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Zetulba, so far as this particular poem is concerned, is a purely ideal character. Her name and this poem in its entirety was suggested by the line, "My Zetulba, come reign o'er my soul," an alleged quotation from an old French song introduced by Victor Hugo into his great work Les Miserables. When the early morn awakens all that lives and hopes and loves, when Aurora lightly beckons to the meadows and the groves, then for you, my loved Zetulba, throbbings o'er my bosom roll, and I yearn to have thee, darling, reigning queen within my soul. When the heat and glare of noonday leave the ground all cracked and dry, and the cattle seek the shaded trees, and a haze pervades the sky, then too, my love Zetulba, throbbings o'er my bosom roll, and I yearn to have thee, darling, reigning queen within my soul. When the ruddy trail of daylight fast is fading in the west, and the soft and quiet shadows soothe and wrap the world to rest, then, yes then, my loved Zetulba, throbbings o'er my bosom roll, and I yearn to have thee, darling, reigning queen within my soul. Fair Zetulba, sweet Zetulba, dearest guardian of my heart, life would seem not worth the living if from thee I had to part. If thou wouldst, my lovely fair one, cheer the life in your control, say that you, O sweet Zetulba, will reign o'er my troubled soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Western Zephyrs by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Oh, come to the west, Zetulba, to the very far away west with me. Oh, come and be mine, my loved one, the star of my hope to be. The east may have ties that can tether to childhood's departing gleam, but we'll find in the west together the bliss of a poet's dream. The sky in that world of wonder but seldom is clouded o'er. No rattle of breaking thunder would startle your slumbers more. The fields and the forest and flowers, their smile in perennial spring, while the birds from evergreen bowers in song that is ceaseless sing. By the side of the boundless ocean, in a cottage mid roses lost, we could hallow our heart's devotion, away from the wearisome host. The fires of our youthful affection need never grow cold or dim, for our life under love's subjection would glide like a vesper hymn. Then come to the west, Zetulba, to the far away west with me. Oh, come and be mine, my loved one, the charm of my life to be. The east may have ties that can tether to childhood's departing gleam, but we'll find in the west together the bliss of a poet's dream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Only Some Violets by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Only some violets, daintily pressed, tied together with soft silken bands, by loving, trembling, faraway hands, and placed in a letter to me addressed. Eloquent violets! Eloquent violets, blue as the sky, plucked from the mead with tenderest care, that they a message of love might bear, a message of love that will never die, like withering violets. Withering violets, but oh so dear, that language fails to describe my bliss, as fondling them over with longing kiss, I think the loved one who sent to cheer only some violets. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Deserted by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I'm lonely without you tonight, dear. As lonely can be. I'm nothing, you've told me, to you, dear, but you are the whole world to me. Oh, why did you once say you loved, dear? Loved me as none ne'er loved before. Oh, why did you wait till my heart, dear, had knitted you into its core? Oh, why when my bliss was complete, dear, when heaven and earth were as one? Oh, why did you change, dear, and rob my life's day of its sun? But I am to blame for the blight, dear. God surely is chastening me. For oh, I'm so lonely tonight, dear, as lonely can be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Love's Dream is O'er by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Love's happy dream is o'er. I waken with a start to find inflamed and sore my wounded heart. The state I thought was life, so sweet it seemed and real, was but the lull of strife that now I feel. I fixed my highest aim upon a woman's troth. God steeped my hope in shame to show his wrath. She who 'mid streaming tears had sworn eternal love, ere yet the months were years, forsworn did prove. But I can bear my fate, worse I might deplore, had I learned too late, love's dream was o'er. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Was It a Proof? By George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. 'Twas autumn, and the wailing wind foretold of winter nigh, as bleak and blind it vainly pined to change the cheerless sky. When with Zetulba by my side, her hand in promise mine, I craved, nor tried my doubts to hide, of love some surer sign. 'Twas in a garden that we stood, a plot her skill had made, where 'mong its flowers in musing mood she oftentimes had strayed. But now its beds, of beauty shorn, were dead, unkempt and bare. What leaves were left shook all forlorn and desolate in air. One only flower remained to tell of garden glory fled, a pansy heedless of the knell that low its comrades laid. Still fresh and sweet, it raised aloft its bosom to the sky, and dared the Fates to show their hates. It simply would not die. And as I pressed, with lover's zest, my darling's trembling hand, and begged once more some token sure of Cupid's magic wand, she stooped, and through the season's last, her garden's only plea, she plucked that pansy from the waste, and handed it to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Doubt by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by phone. If you were more than human, dear, and still could love me as you say you love me now, then might my heart leap forth and loosed my will, then might I fondly whisper vow for vow. If like Endymion enamored of the moon, I could feel certain of immortal love, your vows would dip me in enraptured swoon, and my own passion would as deathless prove. But though a jewel of the greatest worth, alas, you're only mortal, and your sheen, like flaming opal when a cloud creeps forth, will change its semblance and its ardor keen. I may perchance in hurrying to high goal stumble on unseen rock and headlong fall. You see the hap, but when you might console, alas, my trouble is love's gloomy pall. Perchance my progress is so very fleet, I get beyond your woman's tardy ken, and pay the price of seeing at your feet some slower lover who will woo like men. Perhaps, though striving, I am quite outstripped by one more capable to win a palm, when straight my soaring hopes are ruthless clipped, and from his arms you look upon me calm. Yes, sweet, you are but mortal, frail though fair. I dare not dip too deep in love's soft stream. I dare not place my passion in your care, lest rude awakening prove it all a dream. You are but human, dear, 'tis all too true, and if I let my love become my life, e'en such a woman, dear, I might still rue, and curse the fate that gave me such a wife. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Old Words to a New Tune by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. 1. Orpheus, so the ancients tell, went down to Pluto's dark abode, with harp in hand to conjure Hell, to give him back the spouse he loed. And through the horrors searching well, nor quailing at the endless strife, to tuneful string at every cell, sang, "Where in Hades is my wife?" Though modern husbands quite forget to visit Pluto's realm of night, when coming home in angry fret, they find their darlings out of sight. Yet still as through the house they prowl, in futile search for dish of knife, like Orpheus of old, they howl, "Oh, where in Hades is my wife?" End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Lesson in Grammar by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I love, and lo! the world till now so plain Has changed its hue, and like my love grows sweet. There are no heights I may not now attain. My state long wanting is at last complete. Thou lovest, and thy very sighs contain A charm that dims all other charms of thine. For with thy love, O balm for dizzy brain, There comes the hope that all these charms are mine. He loves, nor can I blame his perfect taste, since his true choice has seen the bud most fair. His love, though weak near mine, is not all waste, for it has shown how high his soul may dare. We love, and with our latest breath will stand to shield thee from the shafts that envy send, till with such champions at thy dear command, thy happiness need never know an end. You love, but hold! O hollow mocking fate! Am I the object, or is he your love? Can it be possible that him I hate, who late seemed honest, so alas I prove? They love, and only they, are lovers swear, who on the path where even heaven must move, are jealous of the gem they hold most rare, and quickly quarrel with divided love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Secret by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Oh, Jess, I have a secret that I've promised not to tell. It's all about our wedding. I know you wish us well. I told Tom when he asked me I'd keep the whole thing dark. He thought if we could keep it mum, 'twould be an awful lark. So when we fixed the 1st of May, says I to Tom, my love, although I like the name of Stark, I will not faithless prove, and while that name will then become my very, very own, upon my word I'll never tell a solitary one. I'm going to wear a satin dress, a lilac trimmed with cream, and oh, if you could see my veil, it is a perfect dream. My sister Sue will be the maid, and in the honeymoon, we're going to visit Tom's old home upon the river Doon. But there's my car. Excuse me, Jess, I really must away. We're going to live at Woodlands that fronts on Sunset Bay. The wedding won't be very large. Tom only wants a few. I think it's quite a jolly joke to keep it dark, don't you? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Tessie Casey by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Marie Neilson, Vancouver, BC. I've a sweetheart so bewitching, she has set my heart aflame. She's a colleen from old Ireland, Tessie Casey is her name. Every day I go to see her, and my life is made divine, for she tends upon the table at the saloon where I dine. She's a charmer, I'll admit it. All say Tessie's out of sight. Just to have her wait upon him gives a man an appetite. She has cheeks that shine like roses, and a chin that breaks men's hearts. In her eyes so large and tender, Cupid stores his choicest darts. O'er her forehead smooth and regal clusters shock of raven curls, while her ruddy lips distracting hide 2 rows of whitest pearls. But the reason she's my sweetheart, that I sing her praises true, is because she says she loves me when there's nothing else to do. Is because when hunger haunts me, and I long for bread and meat. From the kitchen comes Miss Casey, bringing all I wish to eat. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Love on a Ranch by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. In the early hours of morning, when the birds begin to sing, and the sun with flashlight warning calls the busy bee to wing, I am startled by a tapping on my chamber's bolted door, while a voice disturbs my napping, and puts short a blissful snore, saying, wake up, the early birds are singing. Wake up, it's nearly 4:30. Wake up, the breakfast bell is ringing. Wake up, sweetheart, and rattle goes the door. As I hear the merry summons, 'fore my eyes there comes a face, and I see the laughing features of the rancher's daughter Grace, and I doze again forgetful, dreaming I'm in paradise, till once more I hear the accents of that fascinating voice, saying, wake up, the early birds are singing. Wake up, it's nearly 4:30. Wake up, the breakfast bell is ringing. Wake up, sweetheart, and rattle goes the door. All the peace that song engenders in my lone and aching heart, I would fain, but nature hinders, to the world at large impart. Oh, how pleasant, if forever, o'er life's changing, troubled deep, I could hear that voice enticing, rousing me from morning sleep, saying, wake up, the early birds are singing. Wake up, it's nearly 4:30. Wake up, the breakfast bell is ringing. Wake up, sweetheart, and rattle goes the door. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hopeless Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. At the house where I live there are two pretty girls, one of whom is called Liz, and has raven black curls, while the other is Jen, with a willowy form, and my heart for them both grows surprisingly warm. When I'm down at the table consuming my meal, my thoughts turn to Jen with a feverish zeal. I watch her intent, and in every move I see some new grace that increases my love. But when I am through and return to my room, my love for dark Liz once again starts to bloom. Each word that she utters makes fiercer the fire, till I grow like a furnace of love and desire. But alas and alack, I'm but one of a crowd, who of Lizzie and Jenny are hopelessly proud, since favors for rivals all too freely each spreads, for it's Jen waits on table and Liz makes the beds. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Little Kathy Kindheart by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lynda Neilson, Vancouver, BC. Though fond lovers praise some Minerva's high charms, or boast of the bliss in a Venus's arms, I'll willingly yield them their most loved embrace, if kindness for me kindles Cathy's sweet face. Fair Kathleen Acushla, your good deeds so shine, Vain, vain are your efforts their light to confine, While modesty still would hide qualities true, The hiding of virtues but gains them their due. You would not pretend to outrival false Troy, No wiles of yours sure would a Caesar decoy, Yet deep in your heart you have treasures in store To hold him who wins you, my Cathy Asthore. What signifies learning if heartlessness guides Who long values beauty where folly abides? No birthright can call forth a throe that will last, But love won by kindness is never surpassed. So loud let me sing thee, my Celtic colleen, My dear little, true little, gentle Kathleen. Who is there could wish for a lovelier prize, While kindness for him kindles Cathy's kind eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Maggie Thorp by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Ye muses list while I relate The sorrows of a lover true, And if you've power to mend my fate, Still let me not in sorrow sue. I met the dearest little dame, In vain I tune my wayward harp, The sweetest music sounds so tame, If I but think of Maggie Thorp. I met her, as I said before, And straightway Cupid pierced my heart. And now I gaze, admire, adore, But can't withdraw that cruel dart. Her eyes, oh ecstasy divine! Forgive ye gods, nor with me carp, When I declare yours cannot shine As do the eyes of Maggie Thorp. Her lips, and do I not succumb? Why is it that I do not die? Less blissful thoughts have made me dumb, While now I'm able even to sigh. Her lips, once more let me repeat, That synonym of heavenly joy, That one could find to lips more sweet Than Maggie Thorp's I must deny. And then her hair, by Jove, but hold! To swear but aggravates my woe, Though reason tells me, be controlled, I'm reckless, 'cause I love her so. Her witching smile, restrain me, will, Lest violence should reign supreme. Her smile makes less each waking ill, And haunts to gladden every dream. My plaint is this, and now, Queen Muse, come close, that you my woes may hear. My loved one smiles, and smiles profuse, And lo, 'tis that that makes me drear. She smiles, but on another swain, Which threatens all my plans to warp, For life can be but grief and pain, Unless I wed my Maggie Thorp. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Religion versus Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. They loved since first by chance they met, Though years had come and gone. In Jack, Kate thought the sun must set, In Kate, Jack saw the dawn. They had engaged to share life's load, And ere a day has flown, Their souls our single thought will brood, their fond hearts beat as one. Jack loved her for her pretty face, her laughing eyes of blue, her happy smile, her girlish grace, her promise to be true. What though she is of Romish faith, in it she feels secure. It is her way of cheating death, and helps to keep her pure. Kate loved him for his manly form, so strong and lithe and tall, and for a heart so brave and warm, that nothing could appall. Quite true he does not serve the Pope, but when we both are wed, to save his soul I still have hope, I'll win him round, she said. And so for one short fleeting hour, before the knot is tied, they meet again in happy bower, to nestle side by side. Entranced they view each other's charms, till mantling o'er with bliss, close locked in ever tightening arms, they kiss as lovers kiss. And now expectant bride and groom, before a priest they stand, prepared, nor dream of coming doom, to answer each demand. Are both of Romish faith, quoth he. Not I, the bridegroom said. Then by the Church's high decree, you cannot here be wed. Not wed, cried Jack, what mean you, pray? Just this, the priest replied, unless the creed of Rome you say, you can't claim Romish bride. Then ere I lie to win a wife, said Jack in words that burned, I'll live a bachelor for life, and on his heels he turned. Aghast, Kate stood, nor called him back. Here love had no control. If she were true to love and Jack, she'd lose her erring soul. She'd lose her soul, oh fearful fate! Alas, it must not be. And from the Church disconsolate, she wanders listlessly. Long years have flown, but still apart, the cheerless couple stray. Jack scorns the love of other heart, and Katie fades away. They must not wed, the Church has said. Kate cannot change her faith. Thus kindred souls, asunder torn, await their hastening death. Await their death, yet who will say that when they cross the bar, religious fears, despite their tears, can keep them still afar? No, no, they're married now in truth, and when they pierce the gloom, the seeds of love that bless their youth in rejoined hearts will bloom. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Study by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. She leans with one arm on an easy chair. One knee lightly presses its cushioned seat. She stares into distance. The steady beat of the gossipy clock startles the air. Near her in silence oppressively deep, the piano stands with its keyboard bare. The twilight is falling, and everywhere the shadows of even begin to creep. Her hands hang inert till up through the gloom one steals to the keyboard, whence soft and low a chord like the sighing of endless woe quick harrows the soul of that vacant room. Grim fate trains the touch on her brooding fears, and shatters the door to her inmost heart, exposing a love she had bade depart, a love that now mocks her repentant tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Beauty's Conquest by George Graham Currie. LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. With Apologies to Caesar. 'Twas in that cheerless season, when from earth's face the bleak and chilly winds of winter have ruthless chased all hope of present joy and pleasure, when Nature, sovereign dame, appears her very trust in truth to have deserted, and when the frozen ground in shame its coldness hides beneath a veil of snow. She came, and at her coming, as if by magic touch our hearts, so lonely grown and cold, once more unfolded. Her gentle influence caused the sunken springs of happiness to again overflow, till now, through every vein, with energy renewed gush liquid fires of love. We saw, and as we gazed, our telltale eyes replete with mute astonishment and wonder, too plainly showed that such a sight they ne'er before beheld. That dark, sweet smiling face, bedecked with eyes betraying depths of hidden beauty, and crowned by regal brow, festooned with locks of waving loveliness, seems nothing short of perfect. To see was homage, for all who saw confess that in the hour they saw in beauty's strength she conquered. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Poor Dolly's Ill by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. The flowers grow parched in every glade, in sympathy they droop and fade. Their pretty peer is lowly laid, poor Dolly's ill. The birds sing sad on every spray, untuned and broken is their lay. Each mournful accent seems to say, our Dolly's ill. The sun shines rayless from on high, the wailing wind sweeps o'er the sky. Time drags its dreary moments by, since Dolly's ill. All nature weeps, but weeps in vain. Her masterpiece still writhes in pain. What art can make her glad again, while Dolly's ill? Later. Once more the birds sing sweet and clear, the flowers once more their beauty wear. Once more all nature doffs her care, for Dolly's well. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Politics of Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Vain, blasé creatures of the world, whose lust is winning votes, whose jibes at simple love are hurled as proof that you are goats, assemble now and list awhile, then cease your knavish tricks. Learn here that you yourselves revile, for love is politics. A lover in his honest way is but a candidate. He wants to have some little say in his adopted state, while she he loves in accents dumb rewards his sallies witty, till lo, the twain with joy become joint chairmen in committee. Then when they've served their country well, by silence on the floor, next as a man and wife they dwell, and home rule realms explore. Such patriotic ardor warms, the state's gay halls resound, the husband's chosen man at arms, his spouse as speakers crowned. So on it goes from year to year. Behold new honors gained, Aspirants quote the happy pair, and hope what they've attained. At last, above all petty grief, with baby's charms elate, she's made solicitor in chief, and he, grown very great, becomes, mid cheers and truant tears, a governor in the state of matrimony. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Darling, I Have Dreamed of Thee by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. An answer to the song, Little Darling, Dream of Me, and so close a copy of the song that it is answering that the author takes no credit for either the thought or meter. It is placed here more particularly as an instance of the slight changes required in English versification to quite reverse the sense. When with sorrow I'm oppressed, and I'm feeling sad and lonely, Graham, darling, in my breast, longings rise for thee, thee only. Since from me you had to part, dearer hast thou seemed to me. Let me whisper to thy heart, dearest, I am dreaming of thee. Sweetly dreaming, smiling, beaming, brightest visions come to me, while the stars were softly gleaming. Darling, I have dreamed of thee. Though deep rivers us divide, in my musing hours I hear thee, and in slumber by my side fairies kindly bring thee near me. Let me now assure thee, love, since thine eyes first beamed on me, though in distant lands you rove, still I'm ever dreaming of thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Bachelor's Leap Year Lament by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Not married yet, though years are flying by. Not married yet? No wonder that I sigh. Time still goes on, but in its fleeting train comes no sweet hope to cheer a lovesick swain. Not married yet? And must I ever roam? Not married yet? Oh, whither is my home? When I was young, I thought it wise to wait, but now it seems I've waited till too late. Not married yet? My aching heart repeats. Not married yet? Nor tasted nuptial sweets. Why is it thus? I constantly enquire, and echoes answer faint, but whips my ire. Not married yet? What can I, must I do? Not married yet? Shall I but live and rue? Where is the heart that heaven cut out as mine? Oh, tell me quick, or let me life resign. Not married yet? Still singly blest I rove. Not married yet? No darling wife to love. Come, wayward fair, while leap year gives you choice, with one short breath make my sad heart rejoice. Not married yet? Though years are flying by. Not married yet? No wonder that I sigh. Time still goes on, but in its fleeting train comes no sweet hope to cheer a lovesick swain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ella the Saucy by George Graham Currie. Read for LibraryVox.org by MartinW. Fair Ella is a saucy miss of mercenary aim, who has no use for lover's kiss, that leads to pauper's claim. She says that love is naught but talk, that no man can be true, and calls that dude an awkward gawk who would, in earnest, woo. So Ella leads them all apace who strive her smiles to gain. She turns them down with such a grace they scarcely feel the pain. They scarcely feel the pain, alas, until again they try, and then her smile, it comes to pass, gives double cause for sigh. Yes, Ella is a saucy miss is she. Within her eyes is soulful bliss that all who run may see. Yet all in vain are soulful eyes, or even dearer art, since in her icy bosom lies a calculating heart. But Ella is not half so bad as she would make believe, for if she sees some suitors sad, she does not all deceive. She has her choice among the crowd, though independent still, and while of icy bosom proud, she boasts a gentle will. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Our Vacant Chair by George Graham Currie, read for LibraryVox.org by MartinW. Spring, o'er the waste of winter's drifting snows, ushered by sunshine and warm melting showers, comes with her train of grass and leafy bowers, and scatters perfume from the budding rose. Streams, bound of late in ice, in gladness leap, proud thus again to show the glistening gleam of ripples dancing in the noonday beam, and hurry on to swell the boundless deep. Birds to a sense of ardent hope and love, roused from the stupor of the cold still past, to listening mates on passion's billow tossed, fill with their melody the skies above. But birds and streams and meadows decked with green mock us with joy for new returning spring, since with the pleasures does she also bring sorrow that blots those pleasures from the scene. Once in our midst there grew a lovely flower, ripples and love and perfume all in one, whose radiance dazzled like the morning sun, yet grew more lovely with each growing hour. Spring comes, and lo, the very flower we loved, the one of all the rest we least could spare, is ruthless torn away, while crazed with care, we, sobbing, ask why heaven its own removed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elfrida Pyke by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Giordano, Newport Richey, Florida. Elfrida Pyke, A True Story of Newfoundland. Near Harbour Grace, long years ago, all brows now wrinkled deep were smooth, nor dreamed that locks of snow must some day o'er them creep. There dwelt across old Saddle Hill that bare and lonely height, whose rugged crest divided well Mosquito Cove from sight, a maid whose 18th summer's sun upon her shapely form with artist's skill had deftly shown and ripened every charm. What though the harbour boasted belles as fresh as opening flower, whose every glance a story tells of beauty's matchless power, still o'er them all a very queen the fair Elfrida stood. Her loveliness had to be seen but once before 'twas wooed. Both far and near her fame had spread, and all who knew her loved, since guilelessness of heart and head her radiant features proved. For every one she had a smile, or if it 'twould soothe a tear, her blithesome voice could soften toil and lighten grief or fear. All proudly owned her as their friend, and many suitors tried with countless arts to win the hand of such a worthy bride. But no, a widowed mother's need required her constant care. Her heart and hand, her duteous deed, must still be centred there. And so 'twas thus one autumn night, her daily tasks complete, She started o'er the dreary height, a mother's smile to greet. Her home lay in Mosquito Cove, 3 weary miles away. But what of that? A daughter's love could never lead astray. Oft had she climbed that selfsame steep, nor ever known alarm. By sowing kindness who can reap a crop of woe or harm? With easy conscience, innate truth, undaunted by the night, the maiden blessed with health and youth tripped fearless up the height. Ah, little do we guess the snares that compass us around. Too often Satan, unawares, can innocence astound. Oblivious of the awful fate that even now is near, the happy girl thinks ills await those only who have fear. Why did not Providence step forth and warn of danger nigh? Why test the maiden's proven worth? But echo answers why. Far down along the harbor side, lights glimmered here and there. Beyond, the ever-struggling tide of ocean moaned its care. Around her path great boulders stand, like spectres wild and dim, while clumps of brush on every hand loom up in vagueness grim. The night was still, a cloudy sky more doubtful made the scene, when merging from a rock close by, a skulking form was seen. Too late to save herself by flight, too late to shun the place, a moment more revealed to sight a ruffian lover's face. A lover who, like all the rest, had importuned in vain, but one within whose brutal breast dark passions held the rein. Alone he waits her on the way, his hungry lust on fire, resolved to force her, come what may, to feed his base desire. But little wist he of the power that in true virtue lies, as with an oath he seized the flower that seemed his certain prize. Her startled scream rings through the night, but none, alas, can hear. Too far away the nearest light, too far that cottage dear. Then grappling with her fiendish foe, now tossed on angry flame, it took but little time to know her choice was death or shame. 'Twas death or shame, but truly great, though far from every eye. She fought regardless of her fate, and gladly chose to die. Next morning on the trampled heath, all torn and wet with gore, the maiden's form lay cold in death, her awful struggled o'er. But not in vain her fearless stand, for since that fatal night, Elfrida shines through Newfoundland, a never fading light. A light that like a martyred faith makes virtuous a race, and keeps her still, despite her death, the pride of harbor grace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Evolution of Nobility by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. The Evolution of Nobility. The Iron Age. In the times of Norman William, he who fain would be a lord had to fight his way to glory, and with blood bedew his sword. Then, according to the Saxons, greatest peers were greatest knaves, and they were the noblest barons who had filled most patriot graves. The Brazen Age. In the days of much-wived Henry, in the days of second Charles, love became the happy medium that transformed the rogues to earls. Were you then a humble mister, you your lowly lot must bear, till you got a pretty sister, or a daughter that was fair. The Golden Age. But the sword has lost its savour. Love and business sometimes clash. If you'd now be high in favour, you must pay the price in cash. Lenient smiles are not unwelcome, nor for that a warrior's suit. But if you can buy a dukedom, you can have the rest to boot. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. We use the name of love to suit mere whim. Sometimes we mean desire, oft fascination, respect perhaps, esteem or admiration. Even reverence, in the guise of love we hymn. Such whims are idle. Love should not be called, for thoughts so small, so limited in reach. If these were all combined, we then might teach the combination to be loved enthralled. True love is free. The wide surrounding skies cannot confine this heaven-engendered power. Yet if they pay its price, self-sacrifice, the sad, the gay may gain it in a day. While men may prove they love within that hour, that they can bless what has despised their sighs. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Be or Not to Be by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Crln. To be or not to be. He raised the pistol to his feverish brow, the circling barrel on his temple pressed. The cold, dead steel bespoke a fatal zest, true to his vow. His finger trembles on the trigger, list the ghastly laugh that breaks the silence dread. Despair has made him heartless, hope all fled. Death is but mist. And he will pierce it, life has lost its hue, a touch, a nervous twitch, and all is o'er. God in his mercy left one welcome door he might go through. Now is the moment, in a second more, he'll break the bonds that bind him to a life where one false move involves an endless strife with a reef-bound shore. He lived thus long unfriended, now he'll die. When he has gone, who cares? His homeless lot in life by death will gain the haunted plot whereon he'll die. But was his life so cheerless? Has the cloud that rolls along so threatening not one rift? See, even now, grim death begins to lift its gruesome shroud. Back in his boyhood days he did have friends, ambitious, ardent youths just like himself, who thought developed wit for lack of pelf must make amends. They used to meet and argue over straws, and shake their little world with learned boom, while younger brethren in adjacent room would wondering pause, and hope that they some day might be so wise, till growing brave into the room of state, they'd steal to hear the perorations great, with helping eyes. But that was more than genius might allow. The older brothers packed them off pell-mell. Begone, your presence breaks the charmed spell that holds us now. Just like the swallow whirled, the waverer thought, and steadied once again the murderous steel. Those happy days, inspired by selfish zeal, were best forgot. But yet, and memory fleets again, back to those flights when vanity ran high, and now he sees behind the angry sky one deed not vain. He once implored his fellows to be kind, and let a little sister stay to hear, a sober little lass whose 7th year showed older mind. A thoughtless act that might have been quite lost, had not a parting fixed it firm and sure. Now see the weapon held till now secure, by tremor tossed. Yes, when he came to part, to enter those days, he did not think it was an ending then, but when he came to quit his native glen for travelled bays, there was but one who wept to say good-bye, but there was one, yes, and the pistol falls. One grateful little heart his hope recalls. He will not die. God bless that little girl. Increasing years may add more sorrows to his wandering lot, but from his cheerless life they'll never blot those childish tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
God Knows Best by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kirsten Bradby. Alone by the ocean, in sorrow and sadness, I watched the grim breakers come crashing ashore, till, feeling attuned to their fierce, fitful madness at thoughts of the strife that was mine evermore, I yearningly gazed on each powerful billow that restlessly rolled o'er the great silent deep, and wished for the moment to make one my pillow, to rock on its writhings in waking and sleep. Then, snapping my fingers in scorn at ambition, away o'er the depths I could speed in my glee, now hither and thither with reckless transition, the winds nor the waves not more happy or free. No longer disturbed by desires for tomorrow, no longer compelled to submit to defeat, far off from the causes of shame and of sorrow, my life would be peacefully, blissfully sweet. But hold, if away from the world and its wailing, my lot all alone on the billows were cast, would I not miss some joy for all my plain sailing, some pleasure that all my contentment would blast? Ah, yes, and I turned from the awful attraction, once more feeling grateful to heaven above. The pinings, the sorrow, the striving, the faction, are nothing if mingled with love, sweet love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Setting Sun by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Foon. A friend quoted from memory 4 lines of a poem she had heard read containing some of the thoughts and something of the style of the first stanza. I do not know who was the author of the 4 lines, but under the circumstances feel that this poem is a plagiarism, although so far as I know stanzas 2 and 3 are entirely my own. Author. It's not the things we've done, dear, but the things we've left to do, that makes our hearts grow heavy, and obstructs our spirit view. It's the note we might have written, the love task not begun, that sinks our soul with sadness at the setting of the sun. It's not a goal we aim for, nor yet what we may gain, that proves to troubled conscience our life is not in vain. Since what we should have suffered, and what we could have done, may stab like venom daggers at the setting of the sun. So let us start afresh, dear, and from this very hour let all old sins be banished, nor at one folly cower. Do well what lies before us, no duty let us shun, for true hearts ever lighten at the setting of the sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rejected Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Rejected love, your pangs I prove, I taste your bitter sweet. Life now is pain, but still 'tis pain, where pain and pleasure meet. She'll not be mine, is why I pine, and yet I needs must own. The love I bear, my haughty fare, can in itself atone. I feel love's dart within my heart, and while 'tis there I sigh. Yet since 'tis there with all its care, remove it, and I die. There's joy in love, the gods approve, when hearts to hearts respond, and light in pain, though love is vain, that else might ne'er have dawned. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song of the Waltz by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Lauren Pedersen. The world may be full of grim sorrow and care, of trials, tribulation, and woe, and tyranny, poverty, want, and despair may meet us wherever we go. But if we would fly for a moment's respite from its ghouls and its griefs and its faults, let us banish our care, swinging maidenhood fair in the mystical maze of the waltz. Hurling, whirling, twisting, twirling, lost in the maze of the waltz. The world may have ailings and sorrows and failings, but not while we're dancing the waltz. There are some who will say that it's hurtful to dance, a case of sour grapes to be sure. Thank heaven that one has so often the chance to practice a pleasure so pure. When the music melts into melody sweet and mingles its marches and halts, one indeed is amiss who can feel aught but bliss while whirling around in the waltz. We feel as we glide o'er the well-polished floor we are sailing on fairy seas, that our feet take the place of the rhythmic oar and music's our zephyr-like breeze. Then away we go in oblivious glee, quite free from all worldly assaults, and the fairies all sing of the flowers of spring to gladden our hearts as we waltz. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Country Manners by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. In memory of the celebration of Dominion Day at Chicago during the World's Fair, 1893, and of the speeches of Carter Harrison, the Mayor, and J. S. Lark, a Canadian Commissioner. Says Uncle Sam to Canada, "My dear, I like your style. If you'll be true, I'll marry you. Sure that is worth your while." Says Canada to Uncle Sam, "You flatter me, dear mister, for your great nerve. You much deserve, so I will be your sister." "But surely, miss," says Uncle Sam, "you cannot blame my notion, since parallel our countries dwell, from ocean unto ocean." "Indeed that's true," says Canada, "your notion seems complete, so to be fair we two may pair when parallels shall meet." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Typewriter Girl by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by phone. Sung by Tommy Tompkins, a character in the comedy Tender Feet in Alaska. I once was a music-hall singer, the critics all knew me by name, and when I was singing they'd linger to listen and add to my fame. Oh, those were my happiest days, there in front of the footlights' blaze, with my head and my heart in a whirl, for must I confess I owed my success to a sweet little typewriter girl. Oh yes, she was a sweet typewriter girl, my sweet little typewriter girl, with her lips in pout and her hair in curl, a sweet little typewriter girl. My typewriter girl was a novice when I first got in range of her smile. She worked for a baker named Hovis, who didn't catch on to her style. She said she was slow as a coach. Wasn't that a disgraceful reproach to hurl at my dear little Pearl? And he gave her the sack when she answered him back, sacked my sweet little typewriter girl. Oh yes, she was a sweet typewriter girl, my sweet little typewriter girl, with her lips in pout and her hair in curl, a sweet little typewriter girl. She then got a sit with an author, who said she'd have half of his gains. He gave her a great deal of bother, but neither got aught for her pains. And then she got terribly broke, and put all my presents in soak, before she her tale would unfurl. But I had a pile which went with a smile to my dear little typewriter girl. Oh yes, she was a sweet typewriter girl, my sweet little typewriter girl, with her lips in pout and her hair in curl, a sweet little typewriter girl. Then when she had spent all my savings, she dropped on a nice little snap, for a lawyer whose last name was Shavings gave her nothing to do, the kind chap. But he fell in love with her grace, her delicate fingers and eloquent face, her chin and her cheek and her curl, till I took to drink, for what do you think? He married my typewriter girl. Oh yes, she was a sweet typewriter girl, my sweet little typewriter girl, with her lips in pout and her hair in curl, a sweet little typewriter girl. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Boarding Mrs. Smile by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Sung by Tommy Tompkins, a character in the comedy Tender Feet in Alaska. Though I've been in many lands, and have passed through many hands, in my search for peace and comfort without guile, yet I have found out at last that all joy in life is past, and if you cannot make your boarding missus smile, though your friends be of the best, and you sport a satin vest, and at balls and picnics live in highest style, all your pomp will be in vain, for no real joy can you gain if you cannot make your boarding missus smile. When your wages are increased, say 500 at the least, it may make you feel quite happy for a while, but it is not worth a song, though of course I may be wrong, if you cannot make your boarding missus smile. If some little Cupid's dart has with love inflamed your heart, and your lady takes it off into exile, while you wait your wedding morn, you will wish you ne'er were born. You cannot make your boarding missus smile. If a bachelor you stay, and you hoard your cash away, till at length you have contrived to save a pile, what is all your money worth? Is it used for aught on earth, if you cannot make your boarding missus smile? So, young man just starting out, take advice and you, no doubt, will ensure yourself real comfort by this while. If with you the girls do flirt, treat them kind, but be alert that you always court the boarding missus smile. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I'm Going to Wed a Princess by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Crln. I'm Going to Wed a Princess, sung by Tommy Tompkins, a character in the comedy Tender Feet in Alaska. I'm going to wed a princess, someday she'll be a queen, and then I'll be her consort, with all that may mean. I'll sit upon a golden throne, and smile on royal dames, and when her pater turns his toes, I'll rule the great Jim Jams. When we are the Jim Jam king and queen, we'll raise old Cain with ardor keen, likewise the golden calf. We'll make our subjects eat our foes, and with our friends we'll drown our woes in glorious Arfenaf. Her father's a monarch, another name for king. His father's ruled the Jim Jams since time first took the wing. And now he's growing hoary, so as his daughter's spouse, when he has gone to glory, I'll take the kingly vows. When we are the Jim Jam King and Queen, we'll raise old Cain with Ada Keen, likewise the golden calf. We'll make our subjects eat our foes, and with our friends we'll drown our woes in glorious Afenaf. Her mother, recitative. But I forgot all about her mother. For heaven's sake, Stalitz, break the news gently. Is your mother dead? Stalitz, yes. Her mother's in a coffin within the royal tomb. Her angel voice is silenced and buried deep in gloom. Long ere her daughter married, she mingled with the blessed, and quite resigned one mourner weeps, whatever is best. When we are the Jim Jam King and Queen, we'll raise old Cain with Ada Keen, likewise the golden calf. We'll make our subjects eat our foes, and with our friends we'll drown our woes in glorious Afenaf. Her subjects are devoted, at least they soon will be. When she is queen and I am king, they'll have a jubilee. They'll feast themselves with salmon heads, they'll bask in blubber fat. But when she's queen and I am king, who cares a fig for that? When we are the Jim Jam King and Queen, we'll raise old Cain with Ada Keen, and milk the Klondike calf. We'll make our subjects eat our foes, and with our friends we'll drown our woes in glorious Afenaf. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Primary Impressions by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Written according to agreement by the author and exchanged for primary impressions of himself after meeting for the first time in Lindsay, Ontario, a young lady whose volume of poetry called Mizpah he had read some time before. 'Twas New Year's Eve of '88, to give that day its dues, that I with pleasure first did meet fair Helen, Lindsay's muse. I had not seen her face before, but of her works I'd heard, and o'er her songs I'd learned to pore, before I saw the bird. But when we did become acquaint, I thought it such a treat, I sat me down to bard-like paint her qualities complete. Yet soon I found 'twas all in vain to tell her traits in verse. Though fair maids all may rack my brain, fair poets rack it worse. I tried each plan my thoughts to bribe, till now I must confess, no words I know with truth describe Miss Foote the poetess. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. How Times Have Changed by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. The poets have sung that in days of the past, while Diane, a maiden divine, was dipping her person so buxom and chaste in billows of feathery brine, one Actaeon saw her, and for his offence was suddenly changed to a stag, which straightway, to add to his horror intense, was devoured by a favourite dog. The tale has its weak points, all critics confess, for why should Diana be mad? Either women have changed, or her sea-bathing dress must have fitted her awfully bad. Were latter-day maidens in taking their bath, and a man happened by so sedate as not to look at them, they deem him in wrath more worthy of Actaeon's fate. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sunday in Hyde Park by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kirsten Bradby. Morning. Along the road to Marble Arch, wealth's famed procession passes by. Sweet ladyships with glancing eye, and lordships stiff in shining starch. A gaitered foot, a stovepipe head, an upturned nose with wine grown red. A purple robe, a stately strut, ringed ears to all but flattery shut. List to the nothings that they say, as each proud group goes on its way. They're happy in their little game, and I will be the last to squeal, for I confess it to my shame, I know exactly how they feel. Afternoon. Wild speakers on imported stumps, surrounded by excited mobs, tell how the rich the poor man robs, and with one hand the other thumps. The tortured air is full of sores about the curse of wealth-made laws. Till on the outskirts of a crowd, some doubting Thomas swears aloud, then walks away in arch disgust, while after him flies parting thrust. Perhaps reforms are born that way. I cannot blame e'en useless zeal. I've tried reforming in my day, and know how happy zealots feel. Evening. The moonlight streams near shady seat, secluded from the worldly breeze, where lips with vows fond hearts would ease, yet hearts uneased with loudness beat. To rest and count the stars I'm fain, but for a nook I search in vain. 'Tis lover's hour within the park, and each still nook and cranny dark is lighted by love's spluttering wick, whose splutter sounds like pistol click. I must be gone, I dare not stay, tight straining arms my doom will seal. Poor things, it is their happiest day. I've felt the raptures lovers feel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
She is a Lulu by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Written by request of a friend whose sweetheart was called Lulu Howe. The term Lulu in many parts of America is used in a slang sense, and when so used has a complimentary meaning. Sexton loved a pretty maiden, who from him was far away, and his heart with grief was laden, that he could not nearer stay, for she was a lovely creature, gentle as a summer breeze. Beauty shone on every feature, and her voice each ear could please. And as Sexton thought about her, love o'erflowed his honest heart, and to be a likely suitor, he besought my erring art. Glad to do my friend a favour, but afraid that I might fail, I inquired with trembling quaver, what he wished me to detail. "Tell the world," he answered proudly, "for it wants to know, I trow, that the girl I love's a Lulu, and what's more, a Lulu Howe." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Catalina by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. The story of an island called Santa Catalina off the coast of California. Catalina was a maiden, and a maiden fair to see, who was born long years ago in sunny Spain. She was radiant and lovely, she was lovely as could be, and her heart was pure and free from any stain. But alas, this lovely lady, this Spaniard fair to see, was the daughter of a martyr to the right, who, beneath his country's standard, had scorned to cringe or plea when invaders conquered liberty with might. And because he would not tremble, nor renounce his patriot blade, he was doomed with all his house to die in pain. He was doomed, but still he managed to forewarn the lovely maid, his only living tie to conquered Spain. He forewarned his only daughter just in time to save her life, and she fled her boding fate in male attire, her best hopes forever blasted by the cruel, vengeful knife. that cut off at once her fortune and her sire. It meant death for her to tarry near her whilom happy home. She must leave for aye her much-loved native land. So upon a gallant vessel, a monarch of the foam, as a cabin boy she shipped for other strand. And no one guessed her secret, the secret of her sex, as she nimbly did the tasks that to her fell, and the ship rolled o'er the ocean, and the ocean o'er its decks, and the sailors learned to love their messmate well. After months and months of sailing over billows bold, the ship which bore the maiden reached an isle, and the captain anchored by it to recruit his health and hold, glad at last to gain a respite from his toil. And the natives of that island in the sea, were a dark and swarthy race of noble mould, who had never seen a white man, nor a maiden fair as she, who trod the decks, her secret still untold. Yet the natives met them kindly, these strangers from the deep, met them kindly and entreated them ashore, for they thought they must be spirits from the spirit land asleep, and so sought to make them welcome more and more. Now among these swarthy natives, these natives dark and kind, was a chieftain young and nobler than the rest, whose every move was graceful as the wind that gently foamed this island of the west. His eye was like an eagle's bright and keen, and his ever active form was strong and tall. Catalina looked upon him, looked and loved his royal mien, and determined there and then to tell him all her troubles, to ask him to protect. She might as well live here as die in Spain, but still she must be secret, nor let her mates suspect, lest they should scheme to take her back again. What though he were an Indian, this native of the wild? What throughout his veins coursed savage blood? She saw his heart was noble, by luxury unspoiled. She felt that he was naturally good. For weeks the vessel lingered in this island rich and rare, and the Spaniards were at home upon its shore. They hunted, fished, and feasted on the best of fare, from the best that filled the friendly native store. But while the men were feasting and passing time away, the chieftain and the maiden drew apart, for love full soon unbidden had proved its peerless sway, and joined the maid and chieftain heart to heart. Along the beach they wandered, or o'er the grassy heights, together seemed they always to be drawn, and much the sailors marvelled to see to their daily flights. Staunch friends indeed the boy and chief had grown. What could they have in common, who had no common tongue? 'Twould pay, they thought, to follow them and see. And so the two were shadowed, the hills and heights among were shadowed to the favourite trysting tree. It chanced that on the morrow the vessel was to sail away p'raps never to return. And sad had grown the maiden of late so hale, that she might from the chieftain thus be borne. She could not bear the parting from her love whose manly heart was now her own. And so to day they plotted within a distant grove, that they would hide until the ship had gone. With looks and signs for language, love needs no tardy words, they told again the pleasing tender tale. And there they sat together, as happy as the birds that build and cooed and sang in yonder dale. But all their hopes were blighted, as other hopes have been. Unseen sailors heard where they would hide. They saw too the embraces that passed the friends between, and knew at last what drew them side to side. The morrow came, and early the ship prepared to sail. A friendly breeze sprang up to aid its course, and when they proved the maiden, regardless of their hail, her messmates went to bear her off by force. They sought the chosen arbour, and there upon the sward the chieftain and his trembling charge were found. His arms were round about her, a loving guard, but one, alas, that soon must shield the ground. For as the sailors seized her, his spirit bride, the chieftain drew a weapon in her aid, but overpowered by numbers they stabbed him till he died, despite the frantic pleadings of the maid. And now all hope was over. Her guardian had been slain, and slain while fighting manfully for her. How could she ever leave him, with those who were her bane, as well as bane of him no more to stir? She could not, nor she would not, so grasping quick as thought, the dagger that had ta'en her lover's life, she plunged it in her bosom, and fell where he had fought, in death to be his true and loving wife. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Kiss Me Lelia by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Kiss me, Lelia. Kiss your lover. Draw me to your bosom tight. Let me sip again the perfume as your breath essays its flight. Kiss me, Lelia, draw me closer. What a rapture you can give in your arms, forbidden charmer. It is ecstasy to live. Kiss me, Lelia, kiss your lover. Let your heart dictate my bliss. Let our souls be always striving to unite in every kiss. Kiss me, Lelia, how I hold you. You have proved and proved full well. Why then should the fates divide us? Why confront with barriers fell? Kiss me, Lelia, must I never feel your clinging lips again? What a mockery is seeming! Oh, that hope should make life vain! Kiss me, Lelia, and remember, should you e'er need helping hand, I will take it as a favour, if you let me be that friend. Kiss me, Lelia, but in parting draw me to your bosom tight. Let me sip once more the perfume, as your breath essays its flight. Kiss me, Lelia, draw me closer. What a rapture you can give in your arms, my sweet, that stolen I would forfeit heaven to live. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To My Muse by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Crln. To my Muse. Sweet poesy, thou nymph divine, my dearest hope and pride, my heart now offers at thy shrine the debt it cannot hide. When to thy coy and countless charms my musing memory strays, my spirit with the contact warms, and I am filled with praise. In sorrow thou art ever nigh, my mournful hours to cheer. In happiness wert thou not by, 'twould make my bliss less dear. When friendship calls for tribute just, or Cupid claims his due, thou never yet betrayed my trust, thy help is sure and true. Here let me own with grateful grace, thou art my only guide. With thee what matters time or place? Without, e'en heaven is void. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dawn of Hope by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. These two stanzas, composed in the summer of 1883, have the particular distinction of being a poet's first tribute at the shrine of love. Oh, how my breast swells up with joy! The world can hold no happier boy. With pride I dance along the street, and my glad heart, how it does beat! Oh, how sweet memories bathe my brain! Love's bliss throughout my soul doth reign. Can it be so, or was I blind? To me fair Ida seemed quite kind. I think 'tis true, but, fearing still, I wait her awe-inspiring will. And oh, if right my eyes have been, no subject could adore his queen so fondly as I will her grace, the fairest of God's fairer race. And as the acme to my bliss, I'll beg of her one loving kiss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Too One-Sided Poet by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Paige Harris. Written on the banks of the St. Lawrence River, Canada. Though Burns has praised the banks o'er, and rhymed with pride of bonny Doon, could he have dreamed what by me streamed, I fear he would have changed his tune. Though he has sung of Mauchline bells, and of his sweet Torbolton lasses, yet for my eye, one maiden coy, far all his lovely bells surpasses. He talks in raptures of his Jean, and of his darling Highland Mary, but knew he well, my noble Nell, his song would doubtless often vary. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Jealousy's First Pang by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Paige Harris. Do I recall the picnic? Are you mad? Recall it when it burns me even now? You mean the picnic that we boys got up when Nellie was the pre-acknowledged belle? Well, rather, and if you my friendship prize, you'll never mention more that milestone dire. Recall that picnic? Excuse me till I smile. Ha ha! You do not see the joke? Nor I. I've often wished I did. But list a while. I'll tell you what that picnic brings to mind, and once you know, you'll keep my secret safe, for by your acts I've proved you are my friend. Robert and I were friends. His tall, lithe form, his handsome features, and his noble brow quite captivated all. And, as we stood upon the corner that fine summer morn, deciding who should be the girls' escorts, Nell's name was called. Each furtive eye glanced round, reluctant to give up the greatest prize, and yet quite conscious that to hope was vain. Somehow at last all glances turned to me, but I said, "No, friend Robert is the man, give him the honour." Though within my heart the world had been a small price were I the one, but Robert was as modest as myself. No, no, he would not go. I was the man. So both protested till, in compromise, we laughingly consented both to go. It was a foolish move, I now admit, but then it seemed the only method plain. So off we went, friend Robert and myself. The boys had chosen me, and I chose him. He was in every way the only choice, but fate had marked me, and I faced my fate. Now we have reached and knocked at Nellie's door. Expectantly we stand, my heart loud thumps. She was to me the girl of all the world, and in a moment I would touch her hand. Hark! There's her step. We bashfully retreat into the farthest corner of the porch, and then she came and opened wide the door, then looked amazed to see that two had come. Within her hand she held 4 roses red, and laughingly exclaimed, "See what I've got. I plucked them for the one who came for me." And then, with such a grace I thought I dreamed, she handed 1 to me, and 3 to him. First I grew white. I felt my form contract. My fingers shriveled and my brow grew cold. The clammy sweat oozed out. My quivering lips clung to my teeth and quite refused to speak. I did not faint, and yet I had to lean against the porch to keep upon my feet. Yes, Robert was my friend, and, half ashamed, as she went off to bring the picnic fare, he offered to divide more equally. But I said no, and in a tone so short one might have thought he'd done some mortal sin. But that one word brought back my fleeing pride. I would not let him see I cared a rap. Back with the pride came too the conscious blood, and all my features seemed to be on fire. Then Nellie came, and as she walked between, I think I never was so full of life. I chirped and chatted like a dicky bird, and no one dreamed an arrow pierced my heart. Among the throng I mixed. You may recall how boisterous I dived in every sport, but if you can believe it, though so gay, I wept all day one constant inward stream. My heart was bleeding and I'd glad have died, but hate for him and galled rankling pride made me an Irving till I lived it down. But what about the rose? I thought you'd ask. I have it yet, it's in my treasure cask, and, though 'tis withered, still it shows the force with which I crushed it in that luckless hour. Do I recall the picnic? Are you mad? Recall it when it burns me even now. You mean the picnic that we boys got up when Nellie was the all-acknowledged belle? Well, rather, and if you my friendship prize, you'll never mention picnic, lad, again. Recall that picnic? Excuse me till I smile. Ha ha! Can't see the joke? No more can I. I've often wished I could, but think a while. I've told you what that picnic brings to mind, and since you know you'll keep my secret safe, for by your acts I've proved you are my friend. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Break, Break, Sad Heart by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kirsten Bradby. Break, break, sad heart, and still the memories thronging, memories of joys we neither should have known. Break, let me rest, make cease the ceaseless longing, longing for one whose heart has turned to stone. Sometimes I dream, a wakeful midnight dreaming. I see her corpse, the corpse of one not dead. From out the gloom its hollow eyes are gleaming, and as I see that instant, peace has fled. And when I turn to hide my face in sorrow, through the wide room the spectre seems to swell, and weight with space its ghastly features borrow, till I'm oppressed beyond my power to tell. Break, break, proud heart, and end this empty living. Break, and be kind. I cannot choose but sigh. She has been frail, and I as unforgiving. She lives aloud, and I a silent lie. I vowed to hate, and for hate's venom waiting, each trivial wrong I tried to magnify. Years have slipped round, but now for all my hating, love lingers yet, and does not, will not die. Others have come, and fiercely have I drawn them close to my breast, lax hatred to abet. Alien caress I forced in showers upon them, but through it all I could not once forget. Could not forget, nor cannot cease from loving, though she is false and far away from me. Break, break, true heart, for life to me is proving, through thy grim truth, an endless misery. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
While I Am with Celia by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Swifty. How the winged moments fly! Hours unnoticed pass me by. Time is but a round of joy, while I am with Celia. When in shine or shade we meet, thrills of pleasure, oh how sweet, cause my heart to louder beat, while I am with Celia. All forgotten is the care that within my breast I bear. She alone is mistress there, while I am with Celia. When by Luna's light we walk, witching rays around us flock, till in raptures wild I talk, while I am with Celia. With the purest, noblest zeal, 'neath her gaze inspired I feel, and her smiles is honor's seal, while I am with Celia. I have sworn to be her friend, and may God my vow defend. Perfect are the hours I spend, while I am with Celia. May her days on earth be long, may she never know a wrong, and may life be one sweet song, is my wish for Celia. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. I Love You by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Swifty. 'Twere useless, Celia, I confess, to longer hide my love for you, nor time nor place can now impress another image on my view. In waking hours your smiling face inspires my thoughts with noblest themes, and when I rest in sleep's embrace, you are the angel of my dreams. Your form is mirrored on my heart. To live away from you is pain. Sweet Celia, quick to me impart, if I must love, but love in vain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Storm King by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Outside the Storm King fumes and frets, while streaks of fire flash from his eye. Against the pane a torrent beats, and distant rumblings rend the sky. But all oblivious of his wrath, nor heeding e'en the lightning's dart, within I sit and pledge my troth to Celia, guardian of my heart. To Celia, whom I've learned to love far better than all else beside, and who, imprompted from above, has promised soon to be my bride. What wonder then that all forgot the wind bursts howling o'er the lea? What wonder that the skies can plot unheeded by my love and me? Though hurricanes should never cease, their fury I could long withstand, and deem my lot a life of peace, with Celia walking hand in hand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fancy's Vagaries by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. While in California, I once met a pretty girl who was a very sweet singer. Among the songs with which she used to charm me, I was particularly delighted with her rendition of The Fisherman and His Child, in the chorus of which my readers will remember are the words, "Come to me, I love thee," supposed to be chanted by angels to a drowning boy. After I first heard the song, it was several weeks before I could rid my memory of the refrain, and to get even with the lovely creature whose voice so haunted me, I wrote: In the stilly hours of midnight, while upon my cot I lay, dozing, dreaming, sighing, scheming, sick at heart with life's affray, through the dark and gloomy sadness, softly stole a voice I knew, and in tones of melting sweetness came its message kind and true. Come to me, I love thee, was the burden of refrain. Come to me, I love thee, echo whispered back again. It was Celia's voice enticing that subdued my panting breast, and I listened to its music, soothed and wafted into rest. From above I saw her smiling, and my sorrows all took wing, while with melody beguiling she was there, and love and spring. Come to me, I love thee, softly sounded in my ear. Come to me, I love thee, softer still the accents dear. Then her lips upon my forehead tenderly the vision placed, and she kissed me as I slumbered, with a touch so pure and chaste. Then my brain was bathed in perfume, and my soul in perfect bliss caught again the tender message, chaster even than loving kiss. Come to me, I love thee, from afar the accents creep. Come to me, I love thee, till I sank in sweetest sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Soul of Beauty by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. When seas and rivers, vales and hills divide me from fair Laura, nor harp nor bird with merry trills can drive away my sorrow. Wherever I roam, how near or far, through scenes for grandeur peerless, if they remind me not of her, alas, they will be cheerless. For Laura sprightly, sweet and pure, so full of love and duty, with tender eyes and face demure, to me is soul of beauty. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The St. Francis by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. This is a river in Canada, flowing into the St. Lawrence by way of the Richelieu. At Richmond, one of the oldest towns in the province of Quebec, the view across the St. Francis to the Melbourne side is one of the most entrancing it has ever been the author's privilege to see. Where St. Francis rippling flows o'er its shallow pebbled bed, 'twixt fair Melbourne's maple rows and the lazy dust that blows over Richmond's hoary head, there I met a maiden fair, bright blue eyes and flossy hair, full of laughter, full of fun. Venus and herself were one, and her name was Edith. To become her lover bold, to stroke down those locks of gold with impunity and ease, was my constant wish and aim. So her maidenship to tame, I did all I could to please. I had nearly won her heart and was overwhelmed with bliss, in prospect that she soon might be my bride, when my fortunes bade me part from this lovely little miss, and all my grief and pain the fates defied. Still I think of old St. Francis as it rippling glides on, though away from it I far and farther roam. But the charm that most enhances lies its fertile banks upon, and is found within a little maiden's home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Scugog by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. This peculiarly named Canadian stream is a connecting link in the chain of lakes that almost joins the Georgian Bay with Lake Ontario. The town of Lindsay is situated upon it, and by too free a use of dams near the place, the river has overflown its banks in many places. The trees with which these banks were at one time covered have died off, leaving nothing but innumerable stumps to tell of their departed glory. Though I cannot be ecstatic in my praises of thy sullen murky waters stealing on, yet, O Scugog, I can sing about the daisies that are nurtured, watched, and reared thy shores upon, though the stumps that stem thy tide when it is swollen are unpicturesque, unlovely, humid, dank. Many beauties, nature's beauties, have been lavished with a generous profusion on thy bank. To enumerate them all would take a lifetime, yet to pass one by unnoticed seems unkind. So, to strike the happy mean and make the verse rhyme, I will merely name what beauties come to mind. There is Martha, charming Martha, like a rosebud, shedding beauty, perfume, pleasure all around, making life for those with whom she comes in contact with continual surprises to redound. There is Laura, dark-eyed Laura, tall and slender, the desired of all desirings that is known, full of passion, strongest passion, yet so tender, for her rashness her good traits do quite atone. While Jeannie, with her regal gait and carriage, her nobleness of character and mien, her pure and honest face naught could disparage, shines over her sex a veritable queen. Then there's laughing Bert, the essence of good nature, the picture of enjoyment and fun, with contentment true engraved on every feature, grand and only the inimitable one. While her bosom friend and confidant, fair Nelly, an open-hearted, frank and loving girl, with her silvery peals of merry-toned laughter, is to qualify correct a very pearl. And there's Bessie, simple-hearted little Bessie, full of pity, of enduring ways and wiles, true as steel, and like a sun-shower, I confessed me, when through tears burst forth her winsome, happy smiles. Or there's Aggie, quite as witty as she's gushing, in company the acme of desire, where she cannot help but be so entertaining that even an Apollo she'd inspire. But then again, that's quite sufficient to set my wondering readers all agog. And were my weak pen painting not deficient, they'd wish themselves beside the old Scugog. If I cannot be ecstatic in my praises of thy sullen murky waters stealing on, yet, O Scugog, I can sing about the daisies that are nurtured, watched, and reared thy shores upon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Drifting with the Tide by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Commemorative of the moonlight return in rowboats from several private picnics to Nuns Island, a large and hospitable piece of property dividing the St. Lawrence River some 3 miles below Lachine Rapids. The same rapids, by the way, that Moore has made famous in his Canadian boat song. Come, launch the boats together, boys. The night is drawing on. Old time we cannot tether, boys. A pleasant day has gone. Pull out across the waters, boys, that from the rapids glide, and let the throng, in happy song, go drifting with the tide. Drifting with the tide, yes, drifting with the tide. Maidens and their sweethearts sitting side by side. Who can paint the pleasures of that happy, happy ride? As formed in grand flotilla we drift, singing down the tide. The moon in fitful fancy tries, with many a glittering beam, to hold the ripples as they rise from dancing down the stream. Despairing of her task, she sighs for friendly cloud to hide. But listlessly we hear her plea, while drifting with the tide. Along the shore, like sentries stand grim poplars in the haze, or here and there a maple grand invites our passing praise. But though they send from off the land their shadows far to chide, in vain they preach, for out of reach we're drifting with the tide. With happy heart and lusty throat we sing a common song, since every well-remembered note may present bliss prolong. Too bad we cannot always float upon life's current wide, and feel the joys of girls and boys while drifting with the tide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Wild Alberta by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Once I lived in wild Alberta, where the summer days are long, where the prairie fires burn fiercely, and the Chinook wind blows strong, where great herds invest the coulees, guided there by cowboys' rein, where the Rockies stand as sentries over miles of hazy plain. Once I lived in wild Alberta, and so happy was the time, that remembrance comes unbidden and pent thoughts leap forth in rhyme. For it was in wild Alberta, far removed from sordid care, that I met my dearest charmer, met my lovely Jenny there. Her I met in wild Alberta, and like Eden seemed the plain, as we walked and talked together, or on broncos held the rein. Gladly, therefore, wild Alberta, I recall your varied charm, for in every rolling vista I can see my Jenny's form. Yes, I've lived in wild Alberta, lived and loved when days were long, where among the prairie flowers whirs the noisy locust throng, and in bliss I've viewed the bottoms where the lazy cattle browse, while old Mountain Chief is witness of my lovely Jenny's vows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Moments of Musing by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Once, out in the wilds of Alaska, 'neath tents we had raised by the shore, with Steve, a prospector and miner, my whilom companion galore, while silently nursing a campfire that crackled as hemlock fires do, my thoughts in a moment of musing took flight, sweet Zetulba, to you. I saw once again the St. Lawrence, the pride of my boyhood and youth, whose current majestic flows onward, as swift and unfailing as truth. Victoria Bridge in the distance lay serpent-like spanning its flood, while steamboats beneath the mid-archway dragged volumes of smoke as they sped. On the hillside the deaf-mute asylum, the dome of St. Peter's so tall, the Windsor and other great buildings, recalling to mind Montreal, where each with Mount Royal as background distinctly portrayed to my view. But strange as it sounds, my Zetulba, their forms seemed all blended in you. The occasional bang of the marksman, the din in the boiler shop maid, the noise of the anvil and hammer as working men plied at their trade, the shriek of the outgoing engine, the rattling of carts on the street, though at one time the bore of existence, now fell on my ears as a treat. I heard through it all your sweet laughter, and felt for the moment your joy. The same thrill of pleasure came o'er me, as gladdened my hours while a boy. I thought as I gazed on your beauty, so real and transparently pure, how oft it inspired me to duty, to deeds that might always endure. Those hours of the past came to memory, when in flights of fancy and love I traced out a fame-laureled pathway, whereon to win you I must move. And now, though the hope that allured me has slowly dissolved from the scene, like fire that is kindled by matchwood, I burn with ambition more keen. Some day when I've followed my hobby, till the acme of fame has been reached, I'll credit your womanly glances with the sermons inspiring they've preached, and I'll prove to the wayward and doubting the worth of the praise I repeat, by gathering the fame and the laurels and throwing them all at your feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Placentia Bay by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. A lovely place on the coast of Newfoundland, where the remains of an old French fort are to be seen, although in disuse from away back in 1700. Placentia Bay, Placentia Bay, to thee my fitful fancies stray. Not that thy charms of beach and cove alone can urge my thoughts to grove, though truly few of them may share the grandeur of thy landscape rare. Not e'en thy storied hill and fort can echo here their loud report of battles fought, of victories won, of daring deeds by heroes done. Too far, alas, my fortunes lead for themes like these to cause me heed. And were they all that you could boast, my thoughts of you soon must be lost. Ah, no, upon thy waters free I met a maiden fair to see. Her name was Donna, and her face betokened every maiden grace. Born by a stream that swells thy flood, reared 'neath thy shady virgin wood. Far from the crowd's distracting jeer, she grew in sweetness year by year. Her eyes, two orbs of tender brown, could change to smiles the densest frown. Her quivering lip, her blushing cheek, her heaving bosom, all could speak, and tell of innocence and love, and virtues fresh from heaven above. With nature's music kept in tune, as near thy wave she held commune. Her heart, unstained by worldly feud, was pure and true and wholly good. Whoever felt refreshing shower or perfume from an opening flower, whoever saw Aurora rise and spread her sheen o'er summer skies, may part sunrise the pleasant days I spent beneath fair Donna's gaze. O Chone, but perhaps 'tis for the best that she is east while I am west. Yet for her sake with grateful lay I'll sing thy praise, Placentia Bay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Memories of Millicoma by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Millicoma is the Indian name for a river in Oregon. Its poetical sound may have influenced imagination considerably in the story that this poem tells. At all events, Josie is no clue whatever to the identity of the person referred to. Near Millicoma's mountain flood my memory often strays to revel 'neath the virgin wood that shades its rugged ways. To think of times long since gone by, when hopeful, blithe, and gay, with winsome little Josie I beguiled my hours away. His turgid, tossing, tireless tide, how oft with longing sigh I've crossed, nor recked how swift or wide, with Josie in my eye. While on the quickening current sped the boundless deep to swell, I've lingered on the mossy mead where Josie used to dwell. And there in quiet by the shore I've sat while songbirds trilled, and told the tale that oft before less eager ears have filled. But now from Millicoma's stream I've wandered far away, and Josie of my youthful dream no longer holds the sway. We loved, but time and distance both conspired to conquer fate. And now, while I am nothing loth, she trusts a truer mate. But still, near Millicoma's flood my memory often strays, to revel 'neath its shady wood, and muse on other days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Flora's Mistake by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by phone. True love is blind, the sages say, and doubters are but few. Yet be such dictum what it may, blind love is seldom true. Fair Flora was a gushing miss, more pretty far than wise, who, when her lover stooped to kiss, first made him shut his eyes. She made him shut his eyes, sweet miss, in her impulsive way, no doubt to hide the mantling bliss that with his kiss might stray. But when he shut his eyes, alas, mistrust in him was born, and woe to her it came to pass, he left her all forlorn. True love is blind, the sages say, and doubters are but few. Yet, be such dictum what it may, blind love is seldom true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To One I Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Paige Harris. My gentle Louisa, the kindest of sweethearts, a solace in sorrow, a fountain of joy, the truest of true loves, the dearest of dear hearts. Be that peace thy portion no storm can destroy. Thy smile haunts my waking, e'en now it is beaming. Though distance divides us, I see thy fair face, and when slumber bind me, I feel in my dreaming thy lips pressed mine in impassioned embrace. Thou darling consoler, like warmth of bright sunlight, or balm of cool zephyr in summerland skies, a song in thy praise is a song of the moonlight, that soft wistful moonlight I see in thine eyes. So gentle Louisa, my kindest of sweethearts, my solace in sorrow, my fountain of joy, my truest of true loves, my dearest of dear hearts, may heaven grant thee peace that all earth can't destroy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Where Louisa Dwells by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Though the rolling and the tumult of a busy, busy world fall with tedium unending on my ear, though the gayest cities' gaieties around my way are whirled, till the hours seem almost spent before they're here, still my thoughts find time to wander to a cottage far away, where the whippoorwill its homely story tells, and there, by fairies' favour, I while the happy day, where Louisa dwells. Through the smoky haze of distance, over ocean wild and wide, I can hear Lake Hopalaxo lap its banks. Footnote: Hippolyxo is the Indian name for Lake Worth, Florida, a justly famous winter resort, often called the Riviera of America. It is a body of water some 18 miles long, separated from the Atlantic Ocean by a strip of land varying in width from 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. This land is very fruitful, and all manner of tropical vegetation is to be found upon it, while the fishing both in the lake and ocean is remarkably good. Mullet is the most common variety, and another species known as pompano has a peculiar habit of leaping out of the water from 5 to 10 feet in air. This poem was written while the author was sojourning in Paris, France. End of footnote. And can see the royal pompano leap glistening from its tide, to fright the eddying mullet from their pranks. At the beach a dear form lingers, and the very waves grow calm, as she reaches in their depths to gather shells, and dainty zephyrs gossip of her graces with the palm where Louisa dwells. Tropic nighttime freights its breezes with the scent of ripening pines, and a fragrance floats from guava groves in bloom, as I stroll mid oleanders 'neath a moon that peerless shines, or pause within palmetto's welcome gloom, for methinks my arm encircles a queen of Eve's fair race, while all the ills of life her smile dispels. So who can blame my dreaming of that enchanting place where Louisa dwells? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Maiden's Song by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. While residing for a time in Southern California, the author met his proverbial fate in the person of a beautiful little damsel whose first name was Grace. Neither attention nor poetry, however, could distract her thoughts from a certain gentleman some few hundred miles away, who, it appeared, struggled under the aristocratic cognomen of Clyde. In sheer desperation, therefore, he finally gave her this song to show his virtuous decision of submitting to the inevitable. The hours flit past with merry speed, the birds sing in the trees, the daisies bloom upon the mead, and scent the zephyr breeze. But all too slowly time creeps on, unheard the songsters chide, for still I sigh from dawn to see my darling Clyde. Chorus. My lovely Clyde, my manly Clyde, the idol of my heart, I long to nestle by his side, and never more to part. A time there was when free as air I blithely sang of love, but now entrapped in Cupid's snare, my thoughts such joy reprove. Far from the darling of my choice, the world seems wild and wide. How can a lovesick maid rejoice when parted from her Clyde? But I'll not brood upon my woes, nor rue my lot severe, for time and distance present foes will give me back my dear. Then will I dry my tear-stained face, and true, whate'er betide, I'll always be his loving grace, and he my darling Clyde. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cupid's Directory by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by phone. Revised and brought down to the year 1900. Who was it took my childish eye, and liked my boyish hue and cry, who loved me when she knew not why? Miss Violet. Who was it when both young and small I wept because I was not tall, smoothed down my ruffled spirits all? Miss Emma. Who was it first inspired my muse? Who did I woo as boyhood woos, but who resisted every ruse? Miss Ida. Who was it set my heart on fire, to think of whom I ne'er could tire, whose love did I in vain desire? Miss Clara. But who in trust first stole my heart, and pierced it through with Cupid's dart, then caused me many a jealous smart? Miss Nelly. Who next took up my heart's control, and made me think I'd reached love's goal, then cut me for a kiss I stole? Miss Jessie. Who after that with dimpled smile and merry wit and maiden wile did every waking hour beguile? Miss Celia. Who was it with her pretty face, her lodestone laugh and girlish grace, awhile scarce left me breathing place? Miss Teeny. Who was it then with dreamy gaze, poetic thoughts and pensive ways, helped much to gladden many days? Miss Amy. Who was it had her fortune read between the lines of which it said that she and I would surely wed? Miss Laura. Who taught me first how lovers kiss, then gave me practice in the bliss, till I grew weary e'en of this? Miss Celia number 2. Who was it loved me for my muse? Who could I with a poem enthuse? Who did I very nearly choose? Miss Donna. Who often yielded to my sighs, but when my lips essayed their prize, restrained me till I shut my eyes? Miss Flora. Who was it, as I older grew, my heart in wildest rapture threw, but who at last did prove untrue? Miss Polly. Who was it then, with gentle art, quick healed my torn and bleeding heart, then pierced me with another dart? Miss Louisa. But who, to end such fickle life, gained ground with every losing strife, till now, alas, she is my wife? Miss Augeny. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poetic License by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. I've been fickle, well I know it, as my ardor has been rare. 'Tis my province, as a poet, to be free as vagrant air. You who blame me may remember vows eternal you have sworn in love's May that in December into shreds were ruthless torn. Chide not then, since, while it lasted, like a furnace was my vim. Burning love, though early blasted, it's worth years of lukewarm whim. One real kiss, one moment's rapture, though that moment passion dies. One uncommon throw wields sceptre o'er 1,000 common sighs. Every maid that I have courted is the better for the bliss, though the fervor that transported now transports another miss. Yes, I'm fickle, well I know it. I've been restless as the dawn. 'Tis the duty of a poet to wake love and then pass on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. An Autobiography by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. When years have flitted o'er my head, and I am old and grey, I'll often muse on years long fled, and of each one I'll say, 'Twas 67 when I was born to life and all its wants, and 71 one happy morn they dressed me up in pants. In 73 I went to school to learn my ABC. In 82 I left its rule, quite tickled to be free. In 85 I fell in love with one, alas the day, who false in 88 did prove, and drove me far away. In 92 then, there I'll wait, to chuckle in my glee. Why that's the year, by all that's great, I first met Eulalie. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lovely Irene. A Toast by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Stefan. Let all who worship at Venus's shrine now fill up a bumper with generous wine, and join me in drinking a toast to my queen, the modest, the dainty, the lovely Irene. For once I'll forget she is promised to me. For once I'll let others partake of my glee. For once I'll be gracious and share in her sheen. So drink with me deep to the lovely Irene. Ask not why I love her, nor if I have right. Ask not why in darkness I fly to the light. Ask not why she dazzles with ray so serene, but toast without question the lovely Irene. There are others, perhaps, who have qualities rare. There are others as wise and as true and as fair. Yet such gems are so few and so distant between. 'Tis a boast to no one like the lovely Irene. And if you should know one so gentle and kind, let mention of my love call yours to your mind. Then offer libations with heartiest mine, paying tribute to both in the lovely Irene. So all who worship at Venus's shrine, fill to flowing your glasses with soul-stirring wine, and help me do honor to her I own queen, by drinking the health of the lovely Irene. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Only Plea by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Paige Harris. I love you, dear, and though of humble birth, without one boast of heraldry to make, I fain would bolster up my doubtful worth, and be a princeling for your darling's sake. I love you, dear, but I am up in years. I'm not even blessed with hopeful youth. My leaf is tinting in attendant fears, would dub my passion as a love uncouth. I love you, dear, but still I needs must add, I have no riches to enhance my claim, no gold to purchase what might make love glad, no wealth to prove that all my heart's aflame. I love you, dear, but when my dues are small, while birth and age and wealth withhold their cheer, if you'll reward my love and be my all, you'll someday cherish that I love you, dear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Will Be True by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Friend of my heart, my chaste Irene, my soul's desire, my beauty's queen, in waking hours each changing scene reminds of thee, while in my happier dreams thy sheen still hallows me. Apart from thee, my every thought, in thee, of thee, with thee is fraught, till with my loneliness distraught, I pine and sigh, and fields and streams and skies all plot to tell me why. Gladly I own thy lack of guile, thy modest worth, thy maiden wile, thy gracious words and happy smile, thy plighted love, for me have made this world of toil like heaven above. Would that I could with heavenly power protect thee, sweet, when storm clouds lower, yet I'm but human, and an hour, despite my grief, may find thee in life's pelting shower beyond relief. Even then, human, to my queen, I can be loyal, loved Irene, and so, dear heart, should sorrow keen e'er make you rue, no matter who dares come between, I will be true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
There is Music in My Heart by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. There is music in my heart, there is music in my heart, though outside the waves of discord writhe and roll, while around me storms are raging, and the winds bleak war are waging. There are zephyrs aromatic in my soul, there is music in my heart, there is music in my heart, and I care not what the jarring world may say, though against the pane is falling blasts of rain and sleet appalling, yet within my heart is one long sunny day. There is music in my heart, there is music in my heart, and I dance and sing and let my joy run o'er, for the one I love most dearly, most devoutly and sincerely, has protested that she loves me even more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. I Want to Be With You Always by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. I want to be with you always, were the words that my loved one said, as with wondering eyes I expressed surprise that me she was willing to wed. Chorus. I want to be with you always, through life with its sorrow and joy. No jarring alarms in your sheltering arms could the solace of love destroy. I want to be with you always, was her one artless reason why my dear heart agreed to give hymen heed and respond to my ardent sigh. I want to be with you always, that we never again need part, while I held her tight in supreme delight and revowed her my hand and heart. I want to be with you always, in the pleasures of life and pain, till I sealed my bliss with ecstatic kiss and re-echoed her sweet refrain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Speechlessness of Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. Sweet girl, or shall I angel say, for you are holy in my sight. Would that my eyes could but betray that you to them are more than light. Would that the floods that swell my veins, and while you're close my cheeks suffuse, could tell a lover's constant pains, that you might never more abuse. If words could only half confess the passion that I have for thee, life would no more seem wilderness, but one long round of ecstasy. If I could prove by one grand act just how your every movement charms, you'd know my love no virtue lacked, and that my heaven is in your arms. Sweet girl, or let me angel say, for you are holy in my sight. Read and in weakness find display of love no pen has power to write. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. An Inscription by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. These lines I write to one whose light illumes my lonely way, whose happy smile makes joy of toil and turns my night to day, whose regal brow confronts me now, though she is nowhere near, till I confess from empty space I gather perfect cheer, whose shapely chin my praise to win comes ever on my view, whose damask cheeks each tribute seeks, nor vainly do they sue, whose honeyed lip, which Zephyrs sip for nectar-laden kiss, too far off flaunts with saucy taunts its store of soulful bliss, within whose eyes, which high I prize as truth's most certain test, is seen enshrined the traits that bind the virtues I love best. And so I write to one whose light turns night to brightest day, since thoughts of her, so true, so fair, drive all my cares away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. In Memory of Irene by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. My bride wife, who died after an illness of 8 hours on July 6, 1901, at West Palm Beach, Florida, just 2 months and 9 days after our marriage. They have laid her away 'neath the sheltering pines, in the garments in which she was wed. On her tresses of ebon a rose wreath reclines, like a crown on fair princess's head, by the sound of Atlantic's weird nuptial march, near the orange blossom's odorous breath, with a tropical sky for hymeneal arch. She today lies the consort of death, but stricken and cheerless I wander forlorn, of the true heart that loved me bereave, the happiest bridegroom but yesterday morn. Now the saddest of mourners is left, while her love words in echo yet linger around, while the rays of her smile are yet bright. I awake with a start from the pleasure profound, to behold my life robbed of its light. She is gone, she is gone, and in desolate mood I would fain force my way to her side. Through the shadowy gates I would press if I could, to again clasp my beautiful bride. All the future without her is hidden in gloom. E'en the past chides with memories keen, while the merciless present makes welcome a doom that will lead to my lovely Irene. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elegy on the Death of a Wife by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Sarah Hale. My lovely one has departed. She has wandered into the darkness, though loudly I call her to come. Yet vain are my dearest entreaties. The place of which she was part, the home where she reigned as a princess, is vacant, alas, and bereft, and in her stead reigns a horror. I look around me unceasingly, peer through the whispering shadows, but lo, my loved one is wanting, and the silence resounds with her absence, where I was wont to behold her, industrious, beautiful, confiding, where I had hitherto heard the song of her voice and her garments. All is now blank and still, and my heart sinks heavily within me. O thou dear light of my life, thou beacon of hope and hereafter, O my beloved, my bride, my chosen, my queen among women, am I to see you no more? Is my bliss and my happiness ended? Speak, O speak, love, and say that our aims have not been delusion. I know you are better than I appreciate too well my unworthiness, and in my moments of calm I have knelt in gratitude often, thanking the Lord Most High for the grace of even your memory. But bitterness seasons my thanks, and my gratitude proves evanescent. For when the fear close comes that we are divided forever, the bangs pierce deeper than arrows, and I cry out in angry rebellion. Honey lips, dear heart, darling, I appeal to your vows of devotion. Remember, if now you can, your promise of love everlasting. Send but the glance of your eye, the ray of your smile transcendental, back through the gloom and the darkness, back over the chasm that divides us. Tell me by visible sign that the future holds yet a reunion. Tell me, beloved, that still by exertion I some day may join you. Then will my suffering cease, then will my joy be rekindled. But no, my loved one has gone. She has vanished into the darkness, though loudly I call her to come. In vain are my dearest entreaties. The place of which she was part, the home where she reigned as a princess, is vacant, is empty, is lone, is drear and bereft and deserted. Now in her cherished stead reigns an indescribable horror. I look around me unceasingly, peer through the whispering shadows, but lo, my loved one is wanting, and the silence resounds with her absence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Missing Measure by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I have many keepsakes of her. Books, sketches, photographs, fancy work, and articles she had purchased. I have the drawing that she started on the morning of her death, and with which she had expected to surprise me. But of all the remembrances in my possession, I have nothing that appeals to me more strongly than an unfinished musical composition that she had made containing 2 1/2 pages of carefully written music. It is nameless, and ends abruptly in the middle of a line, showing plainly that she purposed more to follow. There is no one who can finish the music as she had intended it to be finished, and it remains in my possession, a monument, a broken column to herself, raised by her own hand. I have often thought of this music, and on one such occasion I arranged my thoughts into verse as follows. Extract from Irene, a memoir. My love caught a chord of seraphic band that had floated from a far-off sky, of a hymn that was raised at the dear command of the Lord most mighty and high, and the sound so clung to her earnest soul that her spirit soared close to hear, that she might the symphony sweet enroll to enrapture earth's eager ear. But as she was writing the dulcet song, enthused with her mission of love, her beauty was seen by the angel throng, and they wooed her to realms above. And that is the reason that incomplete the measures she started remain. We must wait till the author in heaven we meet, would we list to the missing strain. End the poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Grounds Around Fort Dallas by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Although I've been in foreign lands and seen no end of sights, though fate has given me glorious days and no less glorious nights, though fortune has been kind at times and kept me free of care, and I have had the luck to earn some honours for my share of all my rambles, palms and peace, for those dear hours I sigh in the grounds around Fort Dallas, with Miami gliding by. Have climbed to snow-capped mountain peaks from which great glaciers creep. I've stood where sparkling waterfalls have made their last rash leap. I've seen the prairie in a blaze, I've felt the earthquake's shock, I've ventured near the breakers where they've dashed against the rock. But nature never seemed so grand as when my love was nigh, in the grounds around Fort Dallas, with Miami gliding by. For there we've sat beneath the palms and watched the long leaves swing. We've talked about the Seminoles and Osseo their king. We've gazed upon the battered fort and wished that it might tell of wonders that its walls have seen, of braves who fought and fell. But best of all we've heard love's tale, my sweet Irene and I, in the grounds around Fort Dallas, with Miami gliding by. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Palm Beach by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Palm Beach, the delightful, thou Mecca of fashion, when winter has covered the Northland with snows. Thou balmiest refuge that heavenly compassion has made from the rigours where Boreas blows. Thou field of Elysium, where beautiful flowers in lovely profusion perennially bloom, where orange blossoms languish in evergreen bowers, and spread on the air the most fragrant perfume, where croton beds vary the greensward surrounding or yield to philanthus in many a row, where palm trees with coconut bunches abounding and royal poincianas luxuriantly grow, where guavas and mangoes the senses enravish, where pineapples offer a luscious repast, where marvellous sunsets most brilliantly lavish, with glories of tropical night-time contrast, Arcadian pleasures around thee are clinging, idyllic, ideal, and surpassed is thy joy, that pass through thy pine woods, where chipmunks are springing, and redbirds appearing, might stoics decoy. Palm Beach the delightful, thou haunt of the Muses, where fancy with fairies enpeoples each grove, how oft in thy shadows two willing recluses, a dear one and I have heard echoes of love. How oft by thy lakeside in bliss have we wandered, and gazed on its waters so limpid and warm. where yachtsmen their leisure more lazily squandered in fleets of white sail that all heightened thy charm. How oft have we watched old Atlantic crash shoreward and chase o'er thy sands in its maddening glee, while bathers disporting with each wave rushed forward, or dived in the depths of the outgoing sea. How oft on thy avenue of proud oleanders we've glided on wheels from the bridge to the pier, or taken the trail that thy forest meanders, to see how wild rubbers their gnarled roots rear. How oft in the homes that about thee are scattered, entrenched behind networks of ivy and vine, together we've lingered with friends who have flattered and praised them for prowess in garden design. Palm Beach the delightful, for so all can prove thee, thou spot of the wide world where nature is kind. Ah, why is she gone? She who taught me to love thee, whose graces thy graces recall to my mind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Linger Still by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I linger still, though travel's smile illumes the distant way. Here hitherto unfailing while has lost all power to sway. I linger still, though wisdom frowns and urges me to go. Her stern advice I leave to clowns, while I embrace my woe. I linger still, though from afar ambition's voice I hear. Unmoved, I view the guiding star of many a former year. I linger still, though duty calls, in pleading tones, "Come back!" A stronger force my feet enthralls, and blocks my homeward track. I linger still, nor blame my choice, nor break the pleasing chain. I've heard a tuneful siren's voice, and must perforce remain. For Cupid, coming unaware, so works my wavering will, that now, though heaven above despair, with love I'll linger still. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Lady Lou by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Lou Angevine, of dainty form, of voice that soothes and smiles that warm, of many a sweet and gracious charm, has won my heart. And now through life's tempestuous storm she is my chart. I think of her where'er I go. I share with her each joy I know, and try to shield from every woe this pansy rare. For me no garden plot can grow a flower more fair. Her eye is like the diamond keen, her changing moods are opaline. Upon her lips is often seen the ruby's hue. E'en nut brown tress has jewel's sheen in Lady Lou. And this bright gem, this flower most rare, this maiden mariner so fair, has vowed such love, such tender care for me and mine. There is no fate I would not dare with Angevine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To My Wife Marian by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Dear Marian, fair charmer, my heart is all thine. Where is there helpmeet so tender as mine? Thy large eyes engender such fondness and love, there's no bliss can equal the joys that we prove. O Marian, my Marian, the star of my hope, with thee as my comrade, how boundless my scope! Each laggard ambition is urged by thy wile, and each aim accomplished is crowned by thy smile. The slave serves his master lest trouble betide, the subject grows servile in loyalty's pride. But Marian, my empress, thy servant I move to show by my service the depth of my love. God bless thee, my Marian, is all of my prayer, and in that request I am destined to share. So modest, so selfless, I've found thee, my sweet. To get thee thine own it is I must entreat. And loud I entreat for my Marian fair, my darling, my honey bird, dainty and rare. Thy arms are my solace in every cross. I dread no disaster so keen as thy loss. So Marian, my Marian, the late Lady Lou, I swear that there's nowhere a helpmeet more true. Thy kindness has nurtured such faith and such love, that heaven may not better the joys that we prove. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
If I Had a Daughter Like You by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Sarah Hale. Dear Maud, you are a charmer, there is none can deny. You are a star twinkling bright in my life. If I were but younger, or you were less shy, I would woo you, my sweet, for a wife. But seeing my chances so small for such bliss, there is but one course I have left to pursue, and that is to woo a more motherly miss, and hope for a daughter like you. A dear little daughter like you, a rosy-cheeked dimple like you. Oh, wouldn't I fondle and tease her the pet, if I had a daughter like you? It's a terrible thing to grow old, don't you know, and quite inconvenient at whiles. The girl that you would like to squirt as her beau looks at you with filial smiles. But that is the way of the world, I suppose, and the old to the young should be true. So I will be patient and swallow my woes, and hope for a daughter like you. A dear little daughter like you, a doty wee darling like you. I know she would love me, for I would love her, if I had a daughter like you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Little Sweetheart Maud by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. I have a little sweetheart true, with pretty auburn curls, who sits upon my knee at times, and is the best of girls. She tells me that she loves me well, and hugs me, oh so tight, and when it's time to go to bed, she kisses me good night. But though I call her sweetheart, yet she has another name, and when you hear of Miss Maud Wilkes, you'll know it means the same. She just turned 5 years old today, so that is why I laud, and put in verse the praises of my little sweetheart Maud. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Dilemma by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. I've two little sweethearts called Violet and Fred, and I'm in a quandary which I will wed. For Violet's so pretty, and Fred is so true, that really I cannot decide what to do. In the evening, when work and its worry is o'er, it is Fred that I meet at the opening door. It's scarce am I seated when down at my feet my slippers are landed by Violet sweet. It is Violet that asks for a peep at my watch. It is Violet cries cook and expects me to catch. It is Violet that sets me great powers to spell, and at last for my denseness chastises me well. But it's Freddy, the darling, who sits on my knee. It is Freddy tells me stories to add to my glee. It is Fred pulls my mustache and strokes down my chin, and then fondles and hugs me my graces to win. When Violet teases and asks about girls, Fred comes to the rescue by talking of squirrels. Or when I grow jealous of Violet's young man, 'tis Fred soothes my feelings as only Fred can. I've two little sweethearts called Violet and Fred, but I'm in a quandary which I will wed. For oh, let me whisper the woes that annoy. Miss Violet won't have me, and Fred is a boy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Esther Divine by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Stefan. I love you, my Esther Divine. Around you the virtues of heaven intertwine. I found you most tender, most gentle, most true. Nor know I a woman as noble as you. I love you, and Esther, my sweet, I'd fain at this moment be prone at your feet, confessing my pleasure, professing my love, and praising the beauties that all men approve. I love you, dear, loveliest fair, and earnestly long all your burdens to share. Were such my good fortune, I surely would strive to make you the happiest woman alive. I love you, and oh, that I knew that I, too, was loved quite as fondly by you. Then might I grow gracious, and proudly enshrine, and worship forever my Esther Divine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Valentine by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Stefan. In Esther's eyes, surpassing wise, fair objects of unwonted size, that sparkle like the glistening dews Aurora on the lily views, or like the wine in mantling bowl, when pleasure pays her ready toll. Would I could gain earth's dearest prize, I'd choose to live in Esther's eyes. In Esther's eyes half hidden lies a light that lures to rash emprise. Their glance illumes a tortuous way, that darkened soon might lead astray. I dare not question where I go. In vain I hesitate, for lo, a prudent course my fate defies. I sink or swim in Esther's eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Slave of Love by George Graham Currie. Read for LibriVox.org by Stefan. My Esther sweet, my Esther dear, I'm not myself when you are near. Your eyes control my every move, and I am but the slave of love. My Esther dear, my Esther wise, my heaven I see within your eyes. I ask no other realm of rest than but to be their choice confessed. My Esther wise, my Esther good, though you may oftentimes be wooed, I swear that in your happiest days you'll never hear sincerer praise. My Esther good, my Esther pure, I look upon your face demure, and high resolves spring to my tongue, and recreate me newly young. My Esther pure, my Esther true, O would that I might compass you with guards and shields from every care, and make you blessed as you are fair. My Esther true, my Esther sweet, behold me kneeling at your feet, forlorn and lone, nor say me nay, but change my night to brightest day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Let the Sunlight In by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Lauren Pedersen. Open your heart to the sunlight, my dear. Open your heart and be glad. Why should you shut out the spirit of cheer? Why should you mourn and be sad? Sickness may come, and its value be great, but that is poor reason to pine. Open your heart to the sunlight, dear fate, and your life with the sunlight will shine. Don't be a fool and prolong each new grief, but kneel and thank God it's no worse. If tears must be shed, shed them quick for relief, and cease then your woes to rehearse. Think of your past, of the pleasures yet due, of friends whom your joy could beguile. Open your heart, let the sunlight shine through, and then pass it on with a smile. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Her Breath is Like the Perfume of the Rose by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Paige Harris. There's a dainty little maiden who is all but wife to me, and for whom my grateful heart with love overflows, for her panting breast and blushes, and her clasp speak love for me, and her breath is like the perfume of the rose. She is sweet and neat and lovely, she is gentle, pure, and true, this maid whose virtue every action shows, and I see myself engraven in her tender eyes of blue, while her breath is like the perfume of the rose. And this little maiden dainty, this enchantress far and free, whose perfections on my fancy daily grows, through her lips so ripe and clinging, breathes her preference for me, and her breath is like the perfume of the rose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Strange Musician by George Graham Currie, read for LibriVox.org by Foon. A Story of Mount Royal. Advertisement. Whoever has visited Mount Royal, the beautiful height from which the surrounding city of Montreal takes its name, will hardly wonder at its being the resort of fairies and genii. I have travelled for many years and have seen many of the cities of both the old and new world, yet in all my wanderings I have only seen one city, Edinburgh, that might pretend to be so great a natural attraction within its bounds. This fact is indeed so obvious that the time approaches when not to have seen Mount Royal will argue a man untravelled. I will not tell Americans that Sugarwood is the name usually applied to a grove of sugar maples by the farmers who tap the trees. Maples and their artistically shaped leaves, thick, bushy foliage, and ever-changing colors are perhaps of all trees the most ornamental. The sun from out the summer sky sent forth its sultry heat. Soft fleecy clouds crept slowly by, disturbed by zephyrs sweet. As up Mount Royal's tree-girt breast I climbed one August day, now here, now there by care depressed, to wind my listless way. Far, far beneath half-hidden smoke a busy city toiled, while from the haze its steeples broke, and in the sunshine smiled. Close by the waters warm and wide of proud St. Lawrence rolled, and to the isles that stemmed its tide a ceaseless story told. For mile on mile beyond its flood stretched cultivated farm, with many a fruit and sugar wood to lend their varied charm. The eager eye was ever blessed, no matter whether turned to north or south, to east or west, each scene a sceptre earned. O regal hill, most royal mount, how well thy heights are named! Could I but half thy charms recount, my verse would long be famed. But here, alas, my humble muse, perhaps lest it might fail, now whispers that despite thy dues, I tell my wondrous tale. Grown tired of strife, with brooding breast, I clambered up the steep, in hopes upon its lonely crest to lull my woes asleep. Though round me lay the varied scene, I saw no beauty there, no view to him displays its sheen, whose heart is filled with care. Fell trouble had me in her clasp, and as I vainly tried to loose the loathsome creature's grasp and soothe my injured pride, I fiercely climbed each petty hill that barred an aimless course, first up, then down, o'er ridge and rail, to spend my passion's force. At last upon a mossy knoll, secluded from the heat, beneath some trees serenely tall, a nature's own retreat, I flung myself at restful length, still railing at my fate, and mourning with regaining strength my seeming hapless state. All life, thought I, is but a load thrust on us ere we know. This world is but a forced abode, the haunt of pain and woe. There is no purely pleasant stage from cradle unto grave. Sin, shame, and want incessant rage, and baffle e'en the brave. Thus ran the burden of my plaint, when sudden through the trees Sweet strains of music, softly faint, come wafted on the breeze. At first they seemed to come from far, but as I lean to hear, by slow degrees the very air around me fills with cheer. 'Tis not like sigh of wind-blown trees, nor gush of brooklet near, nor song of birds, nor hum of bees, that falls upon my ear, but more as though some organ grand, with throbbing stop and swell, were being played by master hand that knew its secrets well. From whom the music comes or how is wrapped in mystery. Beside me on the mountain brow no other can I see. Amazed I listen to the strains, and hold my breath in awe. Divinity alone attains to skill so free from flaw. Each note more perfect than the last throughout my body thrills, till in hypnotic spell I'm cast to do as music wills. A holy calm comes o'er my life, each sound a picture grows. I lie exempt from all my strife, oblivious of my foes. Transported back, once more a child, in innocence I roam. The world all limitless and wild surrounds my blissful home. All things seem new where'er I stray, no single charm can pall. I have no wish save change of play, no hope save to grow tall. Upon the mead I romp and run, with overflowing glee, and pluck the daisies one by one, to prove that I am free. With naked feet through mud and mire I splash in arch content. Soiled clothes but aid my glad desire to boast of pleasure spent. Along the brook that babbles past I wander listlessly, till in the forest it is lost to sunlight and to me. For in the wood I dare not tread, its depths too awful seem. The very silence raises dread that haunts my after dream. A neighboring ledge, too, offers space, where, with untutored power, I often raise on crooked bays a still more crooked tower. Alas, that childhood's happy days, like these same piles of clay, should crumble even as I gaze, and crumbling fade away. The strain grows bolder, and I find that now no longer free, a boy at school I've grown resigned to serve at wisdom's knee. A world, till this unknown, appears through letter's artful aid, and now I spend my time and tears in fiction's light and shade. I delve in history's peerless page through tomes of classic lore, and swell in with sympathetic rage with those who suffered sore. I read of battles fought and won, of heroes staunch and true, and love to think what they have done I some day, too, may do. Ambition fires my boyish blood, I dream of power and fame, and oft in sanguinest of mood repeat my laureled name. The worldly world may have its joys to those who give it heed, but as for me, I only prize that world of which I read. Another change comes o'er the strain, my school hours slowly fade. Now heart to heart, a conscious part of comrades am I made. Life once again has changed its hue, the world not near so wide, seems just enough awry to sue for heroes wise to guide. Nor will it longer sue in vain, for blessed with hopeful youth, we favored few with might and main will fight for right and truth. We know each other's inmost thought, and oft by what we dare, show plain to those who own us foes, that they had best beware. Around the volume-covered board in hot dispute we draw, our tongues with learning newly stored can argue o'er a straw. We share alike the social joy that on our lot attends. No petty feud can peace destroy, we are eternal friends. So staple are the cherished ties that knit us soul to soul. When next the varying music vies, it loses part control. For mid those friends one manly voice I never more shall hear, still prompts my hesitating choice, and lingers on the ear. But all too strong the dreamy strain at length it hold renews, and now a youthful goal to gain, with many fond adieus. Alone I leave my early home beneath a northern sky, to seek a fortune as I roam, and sate my curious eye. Great cities spread their teeming stores before me as I speed, o'er dizzy heights the cataract pours, rejoicing to be freed. From snow-capped peaks half hid in mist, grim glaciers slowly creep, while trackless plains horizon-kissed vie with the boundless deep. The sunny south displays its wealth in groves of fig and date, the bracing north, the home of health, smiles o'er its fields of wheat. The learned east its ruin shows, of boasted age attest, and new-found gold a glamour throws around the virgin west. All sorts of people go and come across my devious way, the palace bright, the darkling slum, now varies the array. And oft when fails such crucial test of greatness in the great, I learn that in a lowly breast a kindly heart can beat. I also learn that in the race for life and daily bread, reforming heroes have no place till hungry mouths are fed. That fainting hearts must take the wool, while those who bravely strive grow stronger by each weakling's fall, and being fit, survive. O travel, happy, happy theme! Idyllic are thy joys. What pen can paint the fadeless beam that falls from foreign skies? Had not some superhuman power the guidance of my will, the countless thoughts that round thee tower, I'd be recounting still. But soft, more witching grows the strain, my wayward fancies stray. A brighter vision tempts my brain, and gilds the closing day. Is that, ah yes, the lovely form Of her whose winsome smile, since early youth has been the charm That lightened every toil? Zetulba, beautiful and wise, the acme of desire, The lightest look from whose dark eyes would wake Apollo's lyre. Though others win my passing praise, or hold my fleeting dream, within my heart Zetulba stays, and ever reigns supreme. And now all other bliss forgot, my loved one by my side, within a dainty pleasure boat, we're drifting with the tide. The banks glide past, the ripples sing, the streams reflect the sky, while far above on lazy wing the swallows shoreward fly. Entranced, my darling views the scene, nor stints her glowing praise, while on her happy face, more keen, I feast my fettered gaze. And must I still the secret hide? Why should I longer wait? My pounding heart, too long denied, now bids me know my fate. So there, beneath an azure sky, while down the stream we sail, and birds and waves sing lullaby, I tell the tender tale. In words that thrill I plead my suit, but ere my fate is known, the music stops, and on the height I find myself alone. The sun had set, and through the trees I see a starry gleam, when from the spell of tuneful breeze I rouse as from a dream. The memory of my harsh tirade against the ills of life Returns, but, thanks to music's aid, quite petty seems my strife. For after all, though fortune frowns and plots to make us sad, The world has ups as well as downs, and is not wholly bad. A cloud at times for good designed may darken any sky, But when it breaks we'll ever find the sun still shining high. Our childish toys love's dearer joys, the charms of book and friend, Ambitious dreams and travel's gleams to life a halo lend. And when we look upon the past with steady, truthful eye, We find our years more often blessed than ruesome or awry. Awake once more, at last I rise, quite loath to leave a place Where late I heard such melodies, then slow my steps retrace. Now, though I've never heard again Mount Royal's magic tongue, I glad commend to grumblers vain its strange musician's song. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Love Songs by George Graham Currie.